we'll reconvene and get started. If I can note for the record, that is the roll call, and as soon as Trustee Hoffman is here, we'll note that for the record as well. We will move now into Flag Salute. A very special guest to lead us in our Flag Salute today, Sinam Preet Kaur, and please correct me if I got your name wrong, I apologize.
No, it's good. Thank you. It's Sinam Preet.
Sinam Preet. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
What a beautiful name.
Thank you.
She's one of our wonderful students at Los Angeles City College, majoring in biology, has aspirations of becoming a medical doctor. And so with that, I'd like her to, one, lead us in the Flag Salute, and if you can stay on and give us a few comments about yourself and your experience on the campus. This is in a virtual environment. You know, I would say this as trustees, we always crave to hear back from our students and all the things that are happening. So, so with that, Sinam Preet, you have the floor, and please lead us in the Flag Salute.
All right. Hi, everyone. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. That my name is Sinam Preet Kaur, and I am from India. And being an Indian, I'm completely Asian, like a full Asian. And I'm a type of girl who just needs the shine, and people will get to know about what a diamond is. It doesn't mean that I just am saying this, it's just that I mean it. And for me to become a doctor is my pure dream, not just because I want to earn money or something like that. It's purely because of the experiences that I went throughout my life. Like in India, like almost you can say like almost 90 out of 100 people, they are dying just because they don't have the money to get treated. As in India, doctors are looting people. You know, you have to do this test, you have to go through this test, blah blah blah. They give expensive injections, medicines, which a normal person is very hard to afford, etc. So that was my sole intention, to become a doctor, to treat those people for free and give them the life they can live. And moving ahead, I just want to take the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sinam Preet.
Thank you
colleagues,
so much.
Any questions for our students here? And thank you so much for that introduction, and certainly, you know, healthcare. Many of us here on this call as trustees, we believe healthcare is a right and something that everyone should have. And you know, we are firm believers in finding the pathway for healthcare for all. So to hear you talk about wanting to help people in need is tremendous, and we hope those are the kinds of students we get to graduate and put on a career path like that every day. So thank you for that. So colleagues, I don't know if there was any other comments wanted to make real quick. Trustee Vela?
President Barris, I just want to thank Sinam Preet for her words. You know, it's really important as we move forward and heal, that our students consider the health sciences. So I'm just so proud today. It made my day.
Thank you
so much, Sinam Preet, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If you all just have your blessings with me, I am good to go. That's it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Colleagues, I wanted to start off this meeting by, we have throughout the last year, you know, this has happened all too frequently, but and every time issues do come up, it impacts us as a community, no less. We have a few individuals we'd like to adjourn in memory in this meeting that are part of the LACCD community. I'll read the names off, and Want to make sure that our board is able to express our deepest condolences to the family family and friends of these individuals. First, we have Felda Huson, who is a student at Los Angeles City College, passed away from COVID-19 complications on February 13th, 2021. After raising 4 children to adulthood at the age of 60, she re-enrolled at LACC to pursue a dream of completing her associate's degree in nursing and becoming a nurse. So really tragic situation, but these are the adults and the parents that she represents, one of many of our students in that area. So deepest condolences to the family here. Next, we have Monique Munoz, who's a West LA College alumna. She's tragically killed in a car accident on February 12th, 2021. Ms. Munoz graduated from West with multiple associate degrees and was considering going to law school or pursuing a career in criminal justice. And then we have Anna Chang, another West LA College employee, passed away after battling cancer. Ms. Chang was a student services aide. She served there from 2001 to 2021, so nearly 20 years of work. In her role as a student services aide, Ms. Chang provided meaningful assistance to students in the Matriculation Center, the Umoja Student Support Services Program, and the Welcome Center. And finally, a lasting germ in memory is Joshua Brown. And Joshua is a 24-year-old West LA College student and lost his life on duty as a night security officer on March 2nd, 2021. Joshua was a member of the college EOPS and Next Up programs, was expected to graduate this June. His friends and colleagues at EOPS remember him as a kind-hearted individual who wanted to help others. He was in the process of creating a nonprofit to give youth hope and to be a voice for the voiceless. So our deepest condolences to the friends and family of Ms. Puson, Ms. Munoz, Ms. Chang, and Joshua Brown. May they rest in peace. Next, we'll have our order of business. Before we go on, Chancellor, I do believe we have a couple of changes into our agenda. So can you note those changes, and then we'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Vettis, before we begin, I wanted to make sure that we engage in roll calls. We can engage the student trustee. Can we do that, Mr. Vettis? Just as a matter of record.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. And for the record, we did roll call before closed session. And I do know there wasn't one person there when we first did that. So I'll go ahead and read it off really quickly. So if you can, trustees, if you can indicate here, Trustee Vela.
Here.
Trustee Hoffman.
Here.
Trustee Moreno.
Here.
Trustee Fong.
Here.
Trustee Henderson.
Here.
Trustee Buelna. Well, he is his camera is off, so we'll come back to him. And student trustee Geronimo.
Present.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vettis.
I am here.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Trustee Buelna.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Board President Vettis, yes, there are 2 changes that I'd like to make the board aware of. There are 2 changes to the agenda, items that we'd like to pull. The first item is U8, U as in uniform, 8. And the second item is V2, V as in Victor, 2. So if we would note that item U8 and V2, we'd like to pull from the agenda today. The rest are in order for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. With those changes, can I ask for a motion and a second to approve of the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Buelna, seconded by Trustee Fong. Let me do this. If everybody's, let me do this. Let me just ask for objections to approving the agenda here, since we've just completed a roll call here. Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Hearing none, we will deem the agenda approved, and we'll move forward with the next item here. It's the approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, the regular board meeting, joint public meeting with the City of Southgate on February 17th, and the regular board meeting closed session February 3rd, 2021. Can I have a motion and a second to approve these?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Motion by Trustee Hoffman, second by Trustee Moreno. And again, one asks for if there's any objections to approving these by consent of the board. Hearing none, we'll deem them approved, and we'll move forward to our special presentation. And last month, under Trustee Fong's leadership, we put forward a resolution that talked about incidences of hate in our community here, and specifically dealing with the Asian American community and in Los Angeles, and certainly all throughout LACCD. And we stand firm and proudly behind the resolution we did pass. And since then, we've had additional issues and challenges, and even as much as I think I saw something on the news from yesterday evening that was horrible to see. And we thought it was important as we constructed this agenda to, one, stand with that resolution we did last month, but to also engage in ways that this district and all of our representatives and pieces can be a better part of the solution. And so with that, we have a special presentation today by Connie Chung Jo. She's the Executive Officer of Asian Americans Advancing Justice, the nation's largest legal and civil rights organizations for Asian Americans and Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. Her bio is absolutely impressive. So, for some of us who've worked with the organization for many years and consider folks like Stuart Quo a great friend, it's so excellent to see the organization in your hands to continue the incredible legacy that it has had over the years. She's going to be presenting and addressing the recent surge of anti-Asian hate and violence. And I know before I kick it off there, Trustee Fong, I know you've been instrumental in sort of leading the way with everything from our data segregation to various civil rights issues on our board. If you wanted to make a few comments before we hand it off to Connie.
Thank you so much, President Bettis, and thank you so much, colleagues, for sponsoring the resolution last month. And thank you to the whole LACCD community for a robust discussion at the API committee a few weeks ago, along with the Chancellor and Trustee Bella as well. And thank you to Trustees Bettis and Bona for sponsoring the resolution, and for Trustee Bona for being at the meeting as well. And as we've seen recently, just as recently as yesterday, and with all the recent incidents across this country, we know that there have been a number of attacks against the Asian Pacific American community, against our most vulnerable and most elderly. And as we continue to build allyships with all communities, Connie Chung Jo has been at the forefront of a lot of these issues, and she's been a longtime friend, a longtime leader in the community, and just proud to stand with her and the rest of my colleagues here and the whole LACCD organization as we continue to fight API hate and to denounce xenophobia, hate, and racism. And so, Connie Chung Jo, thank you so much for joining us here today, and thank you, President Bettis, for the presentation. Thank you, colleagues.
Well, thank you, Trustees Fong and Bears, for that very kind introduction. Chancellor Rodriguez, and to the rest of the Board of Trustees, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all today. I'm going to be sharing my screen now, and I wanted to share with you a short presentation about what Asian Americans Advancing Justice, LA, is doing right now to combat the surge of anti-Asian hate that we're seeing here, not only in Los Angeles, but in this country. A little bit about us, for those who don't know. Asian Americans Advancing Justice LA is the nation's largest legal services and civil rights organization, specializing in the needs of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. We have 70 staff, and we were founded in 1983 by Stuart Quo, who found the organization in the wake of Vincent Chin's murder, as he was murdered by two white men in Detroit, Michigan, who blamed the Japanese automobile industry for the economic decline there. Asian Americans Advancing Justice, that name is a brand used by 5 separate nonprofit organizations serving the Asian American Pacific Islander communities. So our other affiliates are Atlanta, Chicago, San Francisco, which goes by the name Asian Law Caucus, and DC, which goes by the name Asian American Justice Center, or AAJC. We are all separate entities, but working very closely together right now to coordinate and combat the hate in a more national level. A little bit about me is that I started my career as a civil rights attorney, and I practiced for 7 years at the ACLU of Chicago in the Housing Rights Center, and then spent 11 years as the executive director of Korean American Family Services, which was a social service organization, and I gladly held the title of recovering attorney for that time. And I had no intention of going back into the legal field, but what really changed things and what made me come to this organization this past August was the pandemic, the rise in anti-Asian hate as our community was scapegoated for the lockdown and what's been happening. And then also it was the murder of George Floyd and the reckoning through the Black Lives Matter movement around systemic racism and anti-Blackness in our society. And so I do want to recognize also how we mourn the death of Daunte Wright, who was killed earlier this week, and recognize that we continue to stand in allyship with the Black community and with Black Lives Matter. So what we do at Advancing Justice is we've been working to combat the more than 4,000 reported incidents of hate that have happened in this country by community-based organizations such as Stop AAPI Hate. And we at Advancing Justice have our own hate tracker called standagainsthatred.org. But let me just say, those 4,000 incidents are just the tip of the iceberg. We know that there are many, many more people who are not reporting what's happening, often due to language barriers, cultural barriers where they think we shouldn't really be talking about these kinds of negative things and it's better to stay silent. We have people who face barriers because they're women. As we know, women are Asian women have been victimized more than twice as much as Asian men during this pandemic. And we know Atlanta is a stark reminder of how Asian women get targeted, and they often face additional barriers such as feelings of guilt and embarrassment when women are victimized, and also a feeling of fear of not being believed. So as Trustee Fong mentioned, there are certain groups that are more vulnerable, such as our seniors, such as women, and such as immigrants. And we know that those are also groups that are going to have a harder time reporting what's happening. I want to go into what we're doing to address the hate right now. At Asian Americans Advancing Justice, we have developed quite a robust program to provide support right now to the community here in LA and Orange counties where we serve. Our Anti-Asian Discrimination Project has three areas of public awareness, outreach, legal aid, and policy and data. I'd like to highlight that on our victim support side, what we are doing is we have multilingual helplines in 6 Asian American languages where we can answer calls from people who might have been victimized. We have a full-time victims advocate whose job is to hold the hands of victims of hate and to help them get support and resources. And we have a team of attorneys providing legal services as well as impact litigation. And right now there's a particular focus on housing because we know that when the eviction moratorium is lifted here in LA, we're worried about the flood of evictions and we're afraid of our community members who might be rendered without housing during this pandemic, and also scared of potential racial discrimination as being one of the motivations for eviction and harassment of Asian tenants. I will also mention that we are about to release a public service announcement online and some ethnic media ads. And then on the policy side, that we are working on the state level to pass legislation to support victims, and on the federal level as well, in conversations with the Biden administration on how to support the Asian American community at this time. I want to highlight for you our bystander intervention trainings, because I've talked to you about on the victim side what we're doing, but a lot of people are asking right now, well, how can I be an ally to the Asian American community? So we are offering bystander intervention trainings with next date happening on April 20th. And through this link right here, you can see our website where you can sign up for that training. And I'll put it in the chat box in a moment as well. But these trainings are developed in conjunction with Hollaback, who made the curriculum. And what they do is they teach you how to safely de-escalate a situation should you see someone who is harassing an Asian American. And the reason for this is we saw starkly the recent incident in New York where a woman was walking down the street and a man started to brutally beat her. And the surveillance camera caught three, the building security guards who were right nearby. And what they did is they shut the door as opposed to providing support. And that is the last thing we want. We don't want to live in a society where people are trying to distance themselves when they see somebody in need. We want to live in a society where we're all trying to create a safe space for one another. So in this bystander intervention training, you learn, for example, very, I think very practical techniques, such as how do you, if you see something happening, how do you, it's called the 5 Ds. Distract is, how can you indirectly de-escalate a situation? If you were to walk down the sidewalk and you saw somebody yelling at an Asian person, for example, dropping your coffee right in front of them by accident, so that everyone stops for a second and has to like scurry around and see what happened. Or perhaps you can go up to the person who is being spoken to and you can just ask them for the time. Something that indirectly breaks the moment can sometimes be what's needed to de-escalate the situation. The second D is delegate. So if you are on the bus and you see somebody's being harassed, go up to the bus driver, go to this person in authority and say, hey, can you pull over the bus? There's something happening back here. Or if you're in a restaurant, find the manager. Or if you're in a retail store, go to the security card. So basically get support from somebody in a position of power to help address the situation. The third is document. Pay attention to when and where the situation is happening, because should a police report need to be filed afterwards, you can provide that key information. Or if the person is in a safe place and you're safe to do so, you could record what's happening on your phone, but just make sure you get authorization from the victim to share that or post that video before you do. The fourth thing is delay. After the incident is over, can you provide support to the victim by directly going up and asking if that person needs to, you need to stay with them until their friend or family comes or until the police comes. I was talking to a victim who had been harassed at a restaurant by somebody when he tried to make a pass at her and she declined. And afterwards, she said what she was scared about when he left was she wanted somebody to escort her in the parking lot back to her car because she was feared that this man might still be waiting for her in the parking lot and attack her. The final thing is direct. If it is safe to do so, and if you're in an appropriate place, you could directly confront the person who is harassing and say something like, hey, this is not okay. What you're doing is inappropriate. Stop bothering that person. So these are the 5 Ds that I think are very practical, but in a moment when you witness something, people go into fight or flight response where you sort of freeze up sometimes and you don't think of what you can do right that time. So the training teaches you how to do these things to help be someone who can be an ally and create a safe space when it's needed. Beyond that, I tell allies, if you want to support the community right now, share with your friends and colleagues that you do support them if they're Asian American and you stand in solidarity with them. I appreciate that the board of trustees and the chancellor has issued a statement condemning what's happening and standing in solidarity with our community. And I would say also, we need better education in this country around Asian American issues and ethnic studies. We know that this country, unfortunately, has a pattern and practice of scapegoating Asian Americans when the country feels threatened or attacked. And it is not the first time that this has happened, including during the times of pandemic. But we've seen it happen with the Chinese during the 1800s and the Chinese Exclusion Act. We saw in World War II with Japanese Americans being interned. We saw it in 9/11 with our South Asian community, as well as Muslims and Middle Easterns. We saw it with Vincent Chin, and we see it today. And if you understand the yellow peril myth that exists and how Asian Americans are often treated as outsiders, if you understand the model minority myth, where Asian Americans are considered doing so well that our needs have been rendered sort of invisible in the past, and how we have been often touted as a model minority, a way of keeping other communities of color down, and that creates a wedge between Asian Americans and other communities of color, and we cannot allow that to happen. When we start understanding this pattern and this history, then I think we can really start to say what needs to be done to stop it. And so that would be my last point. So I do have to leave in about 2 minutes. I have a 3:45 appointment, but if the trustees or anyone has a question, I'd be happy to answer if you have something.
Sounds good. Trustees, any quick questions or comments? If you can raise your hand. If not, the presentation was wonderful and very clear. Oh, we got one here. So Trustee Hoffman.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and I know you need to go. Is there a way to bring this training to our district for our student groups, possibly? And Trustee Geronimo, you might, I'd be happy to work with you if that's something of interest to the students, and I think it would be really great.
Certainly, Trustee Hoffman. Are you talking about the bystander intervention training? Yeah,
the bystander intervention training. I think it would be really a great training for all of our students.
Yeah, absolutely. What I think I could do is maybe offline, if we could trade email addresses, I could connect you to the person in our office who's coordinating those bystander intervention trainings. And so we could find out a way or a time that we could provide that.
Great, thank you.
Wonderful suggestion.
I'll connect everyone else.
Trustee Bella.
I just want to thank you, Connie, so much. And, just seeing the violence, you just had Dante Wright, and, continuing, I think the education and, we're definitely looking at ethnic studies and strengthening it. And it's just a matter of our country admitting that we're not white. We're not just white. We're like Latino, we're Asian, we're African-American, we're Jewish, we're LGBT. I think the bigger issue is identification of our own country. And so I just want to thank you for being here, and please continue to stay connected with us so that you can come and speak, at other points with our students and colleges. Thank you.
I'd be happy to. Thank you for that invitation.
Thank you. And, and I'll, end with this, and I know this was something, and I mentioned yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, and it was an interesting cross section of things where, and I'm going to read one of the LA Times reporters on it. A passenger on the Metro bus called the 70-year-old woman an anti-Chinese racial epithet and assaulted her, breaking her nose and giving her a concussion, according to the elderly woman's son. The son is Mexican-American, but often mistaken for Asian. And David Zonizer put it out in the paper. So you see sort of the cross-section of things and the violence that is occurring, and just sort of brought it's on a metro bus, and something where we were supposed to feel all safe together, and just a horrible incident. But that was literally yesterday night, or yesterday that was reported. But you can see the intersections and you can see the challenges, and thank you so much for the presentation, because we all, hate gets addressed when we all step forward. So, student trustee.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Young, for the presentation. Yes, the students are actually planning a town hall in the upcoming weeks to address this issue. So I think it will be better if we connect and work and bring this training to the students as well.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to connect. And what I'll do now is, just so you have it, I'll put my email address in the chat box. So feel free to connect with me there, or I know there are others who have my email address as well.
Great. And now I know you're on a time crunch. I got two
Trustee
quick
Bettis, I just had
quick comments. Trustee Buona and then Trustee Fong.
Yeah. The issue of bystanders seems to be an issue in general when it comes to violence or hate. I would recommend, even if we did that training here in open on the board, because this meeting is taped, and I think a lot of folks in the public could hear. Because I like, when you mentioned dropping the coffee, it took me a little while to understand what you meant, and I appreciated that. And those are tools that the public doesn't get to hear often, and I think it might be helpful to put those tools out there, Trustee Vettis, because those people start teaching each other what to do in situations that they're uncomfortable and they don't want to intervene, and it's an indirect way of affecting the situation.
Thank you, Trustee. And then Trustee Fong, last word, and then we'll thank everybody for the presentation here. So thank Connie for the presentation. So Trustee.
Thank you so much, President Bettis, and thank you so much, colleagues, again, for the wonderful presentation. And Connie, it's so good to see you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and for continuing to fight the good fight. And we'll set up the future meetings with the students and our organization. So appreciate you, and thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, President Bettis.
Thank you, Trustee Fong. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all that helped put that together. So next, we'll move forward to reports from representatives of employee organizations. Do any members of the resource table wish to be recognized at this time to make comments before the board? And if you can raise your hand, and if we can get folks moved into the participants column here. Okay.
We do have Joanne Waddell and Angela Echeverry in the room.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let's kick it off with Angela Echeverry from our Academic Senate.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank the board and Connie Chung for an excellent presentation on how to be an ally to those targeted by hate crimes. And on behalf of the District Academic Senate, I would like to express faculty concern about the recent surge in racism and hate crimes against all individuals, but in particular against Asian Americans. And the District Academic Senate unequivocally condemns and rejects all acts of racism, hatred, and violence, and stands in solidarity with those who have been targeted and affected by such acts. To raise awareness about systemic racism, we are supporting, and we continue to support, ongoing statewide efforts to revise Title V and adopt an ethnic studies, general education, and graduation requirement. And we also, in March, approved a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. During these difficult and painful times for many in the Asian American community, I think it's very, very important to encourage all faculty to find ways to actively support those affected by acts of racism and discrimination. And so I really am grateful to have heard that presentation, because I think it's very helpful for us to learn how to be allies when we witness something like this occurring. So we did encourage faculty to attend a Zoom webinar called Silence is Violence, Unpacking and Addressing Anti-AAPI Violence that occurred last month. And I think it's also very important because a lot of this is tied into COVID-19 blaming to continue to educate people on the origins of the pandemic. This week, we're sending about 50 faculty to the statewide plenary, and we're going to be talking about education in a post-COVID world, addressing equity gaps, and revisiting the promises of AB 705 and what the data tells us about its impact on students of color in particular. I want to, just say that as we get ready to return to the classroom and slowly go back to a semblance of normality, it's very important that we not lose sight of the tremendous amount of learning loss that has occurred over the last 14 months. And I say this as a parent of 2 high school children. But a recent LA Times article highlighted the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 learning loss on communities of color, but in particular on English learners. And it's important to note that both statewide and in the LAUSD, about 20% of students are considered English learners. And many of these students have struggled to stay engaged in their classes. They're experiencing very high absenteeism, and more than 94% of them are not at grade level in reading and math. So when we look at the loss of enrollment at our colleges, and in particular, colleges that serve communities with high numbers of English learners, I think it is very important for us to make sure that we're addressing their learning needs, and we take into consideration this learning loss that has occurred over the past few months. So again, thank you, and we look forward to working on behalf of all of our students moving forward.
Thank you. Next, Joanne Waddell. You're on mute.
Thank you, Board President. There's trustees, Chancellor. Good to see you all today. And thank you, Angela, for your very thoughtful comments. I appreciated those. This is clearly a very special time of year, as the resolutions and special presentation and agenda items reflect. For some, in some ways, it's a time for celebration, as in Earth Day. It's a time for cautionary tales, as in Denim Day and the Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. It's also a time of solidarity with the anti-API hate crimes. And the list of names that grew by one this week, at least by one, of names that we have to say. And it's in this context, which please remember, is still a pandemic, that the Guild is involved in a very thoughtful and deliberate discussion with management about returning to in-person instruction and in-person student services. I hope by next month when we're together, we'll have some details to share with you about that very important action. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe I saw Matthew Jordan. Matthew, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get you to teach me how to blur the background like the way you have it there. That looks awesome, especially when I don't have my LACCD virtual background here. But let's jump over to Matthew Jordan from the Deans.
I've done about 3 or 4 demonstrations of this blurred background this week on Zoom. I can tell you it's a hit. So good afternoon, board members. I'd like to thank you for your presentation on anti-Asian hate. Our leadership team issued a statement recently expressing our solidarity with the AAPI community. We are currently planning our spring membership meeting, which will include a speaker related to equity and anti-racism. I'm happy to say we have reached a tentative agreement on returning to work. I'd like to thank Drs. Gutierrez and Nish for their work on this. And we will work with the district to ensure safe conditions for our students and all employees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the resource table who would like to speak?
We have no more raised hands from the resource table.
Okay.
President Veras.
Yes, trustee.
I just want to thank Matt and his members, and I know you just said return to work, and I know you've been working hard, and it's more return to in-person, and so I just wanted to thank you so much for cooperating with the district. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, trustee. Okay, with that, we'll close this section of the meeting, and we'll move on to public comment. The First Amendment in the Brown Act guarantee a member of the public the right to criticize a public employee in the performance of his or her duties. However, speakers are encouraged to make their comments and issues relevant to the conduct of the public's business rather than on private, unrelated matters. So at this point of the agenda, this is actually to address the Board of Trustees on regular agenda matters. I did see from earlier, there was a number of individuals who signed up to speak to us. So if I can, I believe our board rules set aside 20 minutes to speak on a topic. One of the items does have more speakers. So trustees, I asked for a, I believe we have a motion. Yes, it's going to be above the 20-minute item. So I'd like to request that that we make a modification to our public comment rule and have 2 minutes for speakers. Am I doing that correct, Chancellor? I'm sorry, I'm trying to read through a note that was delivered here at the same time while doing this. Or are we okay with the number of speakers to go ahead with regular timetable process?
Yes, because you're limiting Mr. Veras, the item.
Yeah.
It's 20 minutes per the board rule. And there are, I think, 20 or so speakers. If you wanted to maintain that time frame and the board to certainly extend it, it would be 1 minute per speaker.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I'm just checking. I'm counting up the list here. So trustees, in order to stay within our 20-minute allotment for the issue, I ask that you consider 1 minute per speaker on the item. Is there a motion to do this?
I'll move to recommend 1 minute per speaker per item.
Sounds good. We'll take that as a motion. Trustee Henderson, did I see you second that?
Yes.
Okay, motion and a second. Are there any objections to be able to get within our 20 minutes allotted to have 1 minute per speaker? Okay, seeing no objections, we'll move forward with, and Lupe, can you assist me here?
Yes, sir.
It's a longer list per item than we've had in a little while, and I know we have a number of students here. Really thankful to see your energy to be part of this here. So let's do this. Let's, Lupe, if you can call the speaker and who is on cue, who is right behind him.
I got it, Trustee Veras. We'll call them as they were presented. So
Okay.
First speaker is Jakar Cardinals. You have 3 minutes. Jakar.
Oh, my name is Jakar Cardinals.
Sorry.
And
Excuse me for 1 minute. Ms. Orozco, I think they have 1 minute.
We have 1 minute,
I'm
and then
sorry,
if,
minute.
Correct.
and if we
correct.
can indicate which item they're speaking on.
Thank you, correct. And she is speaking on J4 resolution in support of congressional community project funding in fiscal year 2022.
Excellent. Thank you. Jakara, you have the floor.
hello, my name is Jakar Cardinals, and I'm a second-year political science major at Pierce College and an intern with the American Federation of Teachers Local 1521. As you know, this pandemic has led to increased rates of homelessness, and LACCD students have not been spared. As a peer mentor on the Pierce campus, I've talked to and heard stories about students who have dealt with or are still dealing with homelessness and the effects that can happen on a person. According to a 2020 survey done by the Hope Center for College, homelessness impacts nearly 20% of California community college students, and about 1 in 5 students in the LACCD have faced homelessness in the past year. A majority of Americans were struggling before this pandemic, and they're struggling even more now. And students should not be stripped of their education and their ability to get a job in the future due to circumstances that are largely out of their control. After doing research and looking into the issue at hand, the solution I found would be to focus more on housing programs for students. I know there was a recent agreement with Los Angeles Room and Board where they would be able to house 35 LACCD students. While that is amazing, 35 is an extremely small number compared to all the students who need help. I believe that we should be actively looking for other organizations like Room and Board that we can partner with to be able to house students. While different LACCD campus websites offer
Mr. Carr, I'm sorry, your time's up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next
Okay,
is
thanks.
Gaylan Shirazan. Same topic. Gayan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi.
1 minute.
Okay. Hello, my name is Gayane Shrazian, and I am a second-year sociology major at Pierce and an intern with AF Team 1521. First off, I want to thank you for giving me the time to talk to you all, and I would like to discuss the growing issue of food insecurity on our campus and community and ways in which we can all help. Did you know that about 1 in 5 LACCD students are food insecure, a statistic that has only been increasing since the start of the pandemic? I've personally been working with CalFresh Outreach this semester, and I've seen how there are so many students that do not know about the resources available to them. Many students either do not understand how to sign up, are intimidated by the application process, or have many factors that do not allow them to qualify. Especially now with everything being done remotely, it is difficult to connect with students who are unaware of the services we can provide them with. Pierce also has a great on-campus pantry that many students, especially ones in their first year, do not know about. But what I propose to help combat this issue is increasing outreach to help provide students with information about CalFresh and guide them to our on-campus pantry. This means creating a program specifically led by students to make the process less intimidating and stressful. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Verinda Fogi. Verinda Fogi, 1 minute. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, my name is Parenda Furuqi, and I'm a first-generation college student in Pierce College. I want to discuss the topic of mental health related to remote learning. Because of pandemic, our lives have been changed as we all stay at home most of the time and are stuck to our computers. Now, the virtual environment has changed our routine learning, and it could lead to some mental health issues. I myself, as a first-generation student, tried to take advantage of the health center therapy session, but it didn't work well for me since the sessions are limited and availability is over overlap with other responsibility. Also, in the past year, up to 60% of college students reported experiencing significant anxiety, and 8 in 10 students have seen their mental health negatively affected since the outbreak of COVID-19. It's clear that there is a need for mental health service for our students. I'm asking the board today to expand mental health services for all students by implementing a hotline that can provide 24 hours access to counselors. My question is, as an elected official, how can you fund more mental health sources to our students?
Thank you. Next is Maisie Angel. Maisie Angel.
Hi, I'm a Pierce College student. I'm a sociology major, and I'm also an intern with AFT Local 1521, and I'm here to talk about food insecurity. At the beginning of the pandemic in April 2020, the Kroger company donated $150,000 to LACCD students needing food during COVID-19 and the pandemic. $50 grocery cards were distributed for students to use at their local Ralph's or Food for Less. Although this was helpful to many students, I urge that much more needs to be done about food insecurity, as this issue still remains. Even before this pandemic, LACCD students have been a vulnerable population when it comes to food insecurity. Over half of all LACCD students reported household level conditions consistent with low food security and reduced food intake. Action needs to be taken in any way possible, and I urge the board to expand access to the food pantries that have been established in partnership with nonprofits and provide consistent food services to students that they can rely on. Thank you so much.
Next is Pantia Fogi. Pantia Fogi.
Hello, my name is Panta Furuqi, and I am a film major student at Pierce College. Thank you for your time and this opportunity to talk to you all. From the beginning of the pandemic, all classes became online. If a student cannot connect to the internet, they are missing the opportunity to learn. Many schools across the country have provided internet hotspots for students, but many colleges haven't provided free internet for students. High-speed internet is expensive and many students can't afford it. Community colleges like Pierce College have provided laptops for students, but high-speed internet is as important as laptops. They have provided some resources of low-cost internet like AT&T, but AT&T doesn't have service in many areas like my house. With returning this fall to our campuses, are there any plans to provide free hotspots for a student to use it at home? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kaylee Morrissey.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Morrissey, and I'm a second-year English major at Pierce College. I'm here to discuss COVID-19 vaccine information. While the vaccine is free to all U.S. residents, a recent survey done by the U.S. Census revealed that nearly 7 million Americans have no plans to get vaccinated due to mistaken concerns that they won't be able to afford the vaccine. This is a product of a lack of communication with the public. A perceived barrier hinders people from searching for information about the vaccine as a whole and prevents the pandemic from being as well controlled as it could be. As a district serving a student body with 53% of students who are at or below the poverty level, it is important to address these misconceptions. Now that vaccine distribution has been expanded, it's crucial to extend the district's information and resources towards vaccination efforts. I'm asking for the district to provide students with information on the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, vaccine appointments, and publicly clear up misconceptions under the district's COVID-19 updates in order to guarantee transition.
Thank you. Next is Atina Nagy. Atina.
Hello, thank you for the time you dedicated to us. I am Atina Nagy, Pierce College student. I want to share an issue that I noticed during my study time. This issue is about the quality of education. I am second language student, so I might have more problem than other students in English. I had some difficulty, but one of my professors gave me a lot of tips to learn easy instead of memorizing the class lesson. In the class, we did more research. In the end, not only I learned the class lesson more than other classes, but I learned much extra information. Well, I have noticed instructors have different teaching methods, but Some of them immerse the student more in learning listen and teach them extra knowledge, but some other not do that, just doing the exam. At Pierce College, I met a group of professors who follow a new approach that is far from difficult exam, and they focus more on research and study outside the classroom. It makes a student more willing to research and review other books. I expect this new form of education to become general to all instructors. Thank you.
Time's up. Thank you. Next is Christine Cole.
Hi, my name is Christine Coe, and I'm here to advocate for the part-time students at community colleges and the lack of benefits available to them. Programs like EOPS, Foundation Scholarships, International Student Program, and the first year program are only being available to people who are full-time, when oftentimes the people that need it the most are those part-time. Part-time students do not usually have the luxury of going to school full-time because they have other priorities they need to commit to. The part-time students are usually the parents, those struggling with mental health issues, the full-time workers, those living with the federal poverty line. It's absurd that these programs specifically meant for low-income students are not available to people living on the poverty line because of how many classes they're taking a semester. Survey data collected by the LACCD indicates that nearly 65% of LAC students cannot consistently afford adequate food, and as many as 20% are experiencing homelessness. Myself and the other 65% of LACC students trying to obtain a degree when put into difficult circumstances in our lives should still be allowed the opportunity of having access to student programs.
Next is Erica Pulido. Thank you. 1 minute.
She is not in the room, Lupe.
Okay, the next one is Anna Alverdurian. Anna?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anna Alverdurian, and I'm an LACC student majoring in biology. And I'm also part of the EOPS program, which I have to say it has helped me a lot. But the only way that I was able to be part of this program is because my mother sacrificed and she worked full time all these years to make it possible for my sister and I to study full time to get an education. And I know that many students in LACC, because I'm part of the student government, I know that a lot of students in LACC have a similar issue. They have to work full time to be able to have enough money to pay their rent, to buy food and other basic needs. And because of that, they can only afford to be part-time students. And so I know that EOPS can help them significantly. It can release some of their stress and make it possible for them to take the classes that they want to succeed in college. So I think that part-time students deserve to be part of the EOPS program. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Yesenia Gracia. Yesenia.
Hello, everyone. I am Yesenia, and I'm a student at LACD College, and I'm here to share an experience about a friend of mine. So we were walking to class, and I noticed that she was peeling her hands because she had blisters. And from washing so many dishes, because she works as a dishwasher, because that's her only option, she was just peeling her hands, and they were red and bruised. And it was unfortunately like we were taking difficult classes together, and she has to do this, and she does not go full time because she has to work. And if she were an EOPS student, you know, she'll be able to get some help from these programs, but she does not, because she does not have the privilege to go full time, you know. And the LACD city, like their mission statement is that they support everyone to go to have a successful career, but the longer she stays here, because she cannot go full time, it does not allow her to just be a good student and do that. And as a community college, we need more support for our part-time students. We have forgotten about them. I also think it's unfair how all of us only got 1 minute, considering a lot of us are AFT interns and we work so hard to get a lot of you guys reelected. That's very rude.
Thank you. Next is Aura Mauricio. I don't think
Hello.
Oh, hi. You have 1 minute. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aura Mauricio. I am a student at LACC and also a part of the AFT 1521. I support my team members' advocacy about part-time students and their resources. I am also a full-time student, but with the role that we have, there also come responsibilities, not only for us, but also for our families. I also come from a low-income family of immigrants. That is why every resource is crucial for us. We face crossroads where we will think of decreasing our units, sacrificing resources and financial aid that are important for us. I share my sympathy with part-time students because there are circumstances that force us to choose between our education and other things that are equally or even more valuable for us. I admit that our lapses are inevitable, but we ask for fair grounds to fight on. Being students, sometimes we are pushed to our limits that overwhelm us. Most of the time, we often forget to take care of our mental state because there is so little time balance with all things that matter to us. I believe that the resources, scholarships, and grants should be open and equal for every student.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Kimberly Franco.
Hi, I'm Kimberly, just Kim to keep it short. I just want to get one thing directly to you guys. I'm a student, but I'm also a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a caretaker. I have many more aspects in my life, not just a student. And I think that you guys should have more consideration and empathy for us students that re-elect you guys to just give us more time for our mental health, because I'm not a bad student when I choose to caretake for my family or I caretake to somebody else, you know? And I just think that it's time for us to get like the proper assessments. We're not just grades, we're not just things that you can be re-elect you guys, you know? We're also human beings, just like you. We understand that you're preparing us for the real world, but this isn't the way to do it. We need more time for ourselves. And I just think by that, we're gonna get better achievements and we're gonna get better success, you know? Just treat us with respect and we'll do the same for you guys. It's not hard. I personally don't think so. And I don't need much more to say. I think I got my message across. Just give us more time, please.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next is Gloria Aguilar. Gloria Aguilar.
Yes. Hello, my name is Gloria Aguilar. The issue is that EOPS throughout the district has a requirement for students to be enrolled in certain amount of units in order to maintain eligibility, unless student service with disabilities provides an exemption. However, not all of us want to be public with our disabilities. Not all of us want to have the privilege to do so. Not all of us even know we might qualify for help. Overall, this pandemic shows we need flexibility and adaptability to come together and help one another through situations that cannot be foreseen. I'm also here to advocate for dreamers throughout the district. At LACCD, we have noticed that through research that the Dream Research Center has different availability throughout the district. Some of these centers are newer, so they only have part-time counselors. Though I'm very thankful, and like many other students, our success is correlated to that availability for the DRC counselors. We need a system that is built around not only the students, but the counselors. An example of this can be further to expand on the counselor training. As a student with firsthand experience on how counselors in different student service rely upon DRC counselors to help monetize our education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Juan.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Juan, and I'm an undocumented student at the LACC district. And as an undocumented student, I know the struggle it is to get certain information and knowledge from other counselors, such as FYE or EOP. All we do is depend on the DRC, which unfortunately for other colleges, not all counselors for DRC are full-time. Some of them are part-time. And it's very crucial because the college district has a huge population of undocumented students, and undocumented students should not be put aside just into one program. Everybody should have the same opportunity as every other, as this person who's born here or who's not. And the fact that we're not given a lot of time to be able to propose and give the ideas and our struggles and experiences that we have had through high school and through the college system is honestly sad. We're trying to make change, and by not giving us time, not listening to us, not putting importance to us, does not even create anything at all. It's just, there's no point on doing any of this if there's no change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ashley Garcia.
Hello, my name is Ashley Garcia, and I'm here to advocate for DRC. I'm a first-year undocumented student at LACC. DRC is a great research center, but in terms of issues, we lack on counselors and scholarships and is in need of more people of color. Not only does DRC focus on helping only immigrants, but we need to help Central American people from all over the world, from Korea, India, Europe, etc. As an immigrant myself, I strongly believe that all immigrants should be equally helped no matter their income and status. We rely on resources for undocumented students, and if there's lack of resources, there will be no change. For instance, we need more resources for scholarships and exemptions. For example, AB 540 we need to pay not out of state tuition. Here's the problem. When us students go to DRC, we are told by counselor there are plenty of scholarships and helps for undocumented students. Whatever is available to us, we apply for it. What not many know is that there are other scholarships that undocumented students, we don't qualify. Like myself, I don't qualify because I'm considered non-resident. And also I believe that we should be given more time so that the trustees can hear our voice and not more time over a minute. And thank you.
Thank you. Next is Harley Reyes.
Hi, my name is Harley, and my question is, are there any plans in the works to expand the DRC? And if not, when are you going to formulate these plans? If you could give me a yes, no, or not, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Harlem Cruz.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Hadine Cruz. I'm an intern at the AFT 1521. As an undocumented student, I want to discuss with you all about the lack of opportunities for undocumented students at LACCD. I was brought to the US at the age of 8 along with my mother and brother. While crossing the border, my mother and brother were detained by ICE. They received court dates, and a few years passed by, they were finally able to work in the US with documentations. I, on the other hand, didn't obtain documentations because I was 8 and didn't get apprehended by ICE. Due to the AB 540 form being passed, I am able to attain college access. What I'm asking today to the board is for more support for undocumented college graduates through partnerships that allow all undocumented students to achieve careers, no matter their undocumented status, by creating pathways for undocumented graduates to attain meaningful employment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sierra. Sierra.
Hi, my name is Sierra Bledsoe, and today I would like to focus on how the Board of Trustees can help students like myself pay for tuition, get access to jobs and opportunities to lower the cost of attendance for part-time students. It is especially concerning when 68.8% of our students are part-time and do not receive the bond fee waiver that allows them to go to school for free for 2 years. Students who have worked are choosing to work longer hours to stay financially stable, and some are even dropping classes to pay for their tuition. Having things like laptop scholarships, transportation fees, and inexpensive housing, food vouchers, scholarships, grants, loan forgiveness are things I hope the Board of Trustees will consider doing more of. My question is, how are the Board of Trustees help students who are part-time pay for the tuition during the global pandemic, and what are some things in place to help cover these costs? Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew Smith.
It seems that the construction on my campus, Los Angeles Valley College, has been ongoing for a very long time. That's not to fault the hardworking individuals that are working on these various construction sites, and I do understand that these projects take time. However, my mother and father always used to tell me that to remember time is money. My name is Matthew Smith. I'm with AFT 1521, the Teacher Faculty Guild. My major is natural sciences. On the Community College Review website, there's an article entitled Community College Spending Exposed, $5.7 billion lost in Los Angeles. It details multiple times the district has seemingly dropped the ball. According to the article, LAVC, a new health and science center, was blemished by faulty plumbing, leaky windows, and cracked floors. Loosely installed ceiling tiles threatened to come crashing down at the first detection of an earthquake in the area. An additional $3.5 million had to be used to fix the center. And within the same article, it states officials actually spent nearly $3.4 million to renovate the current theater building for an upcoming production. Shortly after the completion, that theater was set to be demolished because a brand new theater was in the midst of the construction process at the time of renovations. This brings me to a question for the board. How can the student population receive transparent information regarding the construction program when it seems that some of the major players are actually a part of the reasons that this scenario is even here to begin with? Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Next one is Alejandra Aguilera.
Hello, my name is Alejandra Aguilera. I'm studying media arts in Pierce College, and I want to thank you first for actively listening to me speaking. All of my classmates so far have been talking. Some of you have been looking down. I don't know if you guys have been taking notes or anything, but we did get like our time cut. So my question to the board is, what plans are in motion for you guys to support students with food, transportation, and housing? We elected you guys. There's 6 of you here. I still have more than a minute left. I'm sure one of you guys can answer my question. Thank you. I'll expect an answer since I have time left. Thank you.
We at least mentioned to her that under the Brown Act, we cannot respond.
All right, thank you.
No, and let me just add to that, and Trustee Boylan, that is correct. And I do appreciate all of the students and all of their comments. Under the Brown Act, this is a time for the public to provide comments. Because this is not an agendized item, the trustees are not able to respond and engage. For them to actually engage, this has to be placed on the agenda. So just wanted to clarify that the trustees actually under the Brown Act are not able to have a back and forth with you as part during the public comment portion.
If I may chime in, Alejandra, please do not interpret that statement as that we're not paying attention or will not follow up. So please, thank you for your voices today.
Correct. And I just wanted to make sure that we explained why we don't do that back and forth since you brought it up.
And can I make a call? I'd like to make a comment also, and thank you, Alejandra. And I want to thank all of the students, and I am actually taking some notes, so thank you. When we open it up for public comment, we don't know who the people who are going to be making public comment are all of the time. Sometimes they're members of the public, sometimes they're employees, sometimes they're students. When we see a long list and we are under the impression that it's on one particular topic, which is what we thought. So when I approved the 1 minute time frame proposed by President Veras, I think we were under the impression that it was for one particular agenda item on one topic. And it sounds like you have a lot of other issues, and we're very happy to sit here and listen. But there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. And again, we can't answer, but I'm taking copious notes. So I just want to thank all the students for taking their time today and speaking to us. And I know it takes time out of your day, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Crystal. Okay,
Thank you.
Steve,
Alejandra, you had some time left. Did you want to make any other comments?
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Alicia Alvarez, she's speaking on student transportation agreement, item W1.
Hi, I'm Melissa Alvarez, a first-generation student from Pierce, major in political science. I hope you as the board is actually acknowledging students and taking their concerns into consideration and providing enough time for students to address their concerns. I would like to address issues that students are stumbling upon. Being that is not the degree that gets you a job, it's the experience. And with no experience, you can't get a job. But how can you gain experience with no job? I was fortunate enough to have received an email on internship opportunities in my major, although not everyone is fortunate enough, as my classmate had to go out of her way to find an internship. I would like to address the issue regarding the lack of awareness on internship opportunities for students. Most students are not aware that LACCD has an internship program and a website, as myself was not aware. It's important that all students have the opportunity for an internship in their major to provide experience needed to pursue careers, becoming either more passionate or to figure out that the major or career is not suited for them. As the majors displayed on the website are very scarce and lack majors, and may discourage students as they think that their major is not available. I would like to ask for students to be provided more information on the program, how the program works, expansion on majors displaying on the website, and offered to students, as well as informing incoming and enrolled students about opportunity for internships and resources like the Career Center. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we have Brian. Yes. I'm sorry, wrong list. We're done with the agenda items that were presented as agenda items. We have 3 students that have raised their hands, but those students signed initially as non-agenda items, so they'll have to be towards the end of the agenda.
Lupe, there's also Boris Leva. He's the last one on the list.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Crystal. Boris?
Yeah, I'm here.
You have a minute.
Hello, fellow Board of Trustee members. My name is Boris Leva, and I am a Chicano study major currently enrolled at Los Angeles City College. I am here to support my colleagues' advocacy for increasing the resources and assistance for part-time students. As a part-time student myself, I have faced an inequity when it partakes to the resources available to us part-time students. We are undervalued and underappreciated for taking less units than our contemporaries. However, many of us are facing different situations that force us into limiting the classes we could take during the semester. For example, I have battled with severe depression and anxiety for a majority of my life. This mental obstacle has limited my ability to do well whenever I sign up as a full-time student. Having a workload that is overwhelming is a detriment to my physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Plus, having to provide for my family is another task that dwells on my mind. Being a first-generation Latino college student, my perception and understanding has broadened due to the similarities of circumstances many of my peers have faced on a daily basis. We are constantly worrying about having the sufficient funds needed to provide for food, housing, and resources to ourselves and our families, leaving little to no room for signing up as a full-time student. Thus, well, thank you.
Thank
Is that
you.
it?
That's the end of the list for agenda items that we were presented with.
Okay, great. And I did want to note for those that are interested in speaking to the board on general items, we'll have another public comment period then. Was there any other comments on agenda items from those that are in the participant attendee section?
No hands are raised, sir. The only ones that are raised need to be at the end of the agenda for non-agenda
They're at the end of the
items.
agenda. Okay, sounds good. So then,
Trustee
yes,
Veras,
Trustee Hoffman.
or President Veras, can I make a suggestion? And if people are open to this, because there was a misunderstanding, if the students wanted to continue with, they prepared for 3 minutes. If they wanted to continue during public comment at the end of the meeting, would they be allowed to speak again and finish their comments?
Yeah, I think that's fine, Trustee. So we'll leave it to them if they did want to stay and speak. That's what the second part of the, we obviously want to make sure we have comments for agenda items specifically that people are waiting for and paying attention to, and they can speak directly to them. But general issues, we leave to the end. So if they do want to return and speak on general issues, we can allow them to have their full time at the end of the meeting. So we'll credit them for 1 minute if they're coming back, and they'll have an additional 2 on top of that per the board rules. But I did want to be sensitive to the fact that we have rules in place to, make sure that everybody has their voice on a particular agenda item. So, but that's the way that it was presented to me. So appreciate your clarification here. So with that, we will deem public comments closed, and we'll move forward with reports and recommendations from the board. The first is we will start off with the reports from standing and special committees. The first I'll do is I'll ask Trustee Vela if you can summarize the proceedings of the Budget and Finance Committee that you chaired on March 17th.
Yes, thank you so much. So we had a very successful briefing, and we were able to approve some of the quarterly reports that are necessary for us to meet the state guidelines. I do have to say that, I'll take the opportunity to talk about, a lot of our external budget is also important here. And one of the things that we received is emergency money from the federal government, which currently our colleges are looking into in order to provide resources for students. So I do encourage all of the students who are speaking today to contact your college to ensure that your student body president, because there is communication currently going on. I do know that, I want to thank the efforts of Chancellor Rodriguez and Jeanette Gordon, our CBO, who have been just steadfast in ensuring that a lot of these dollars go directly to our students. And so you will be seeing some of that money trickle down to our students very soon, and our colleges, and a lot of the relief money. And in addition, to be quite honest with you, just want to thank the leadership of Chair Mike Fong at the Legislative and Public Affairs Committee, who have captured additional dollars that are coming into our budget that would provide resources for various pilot programs for LGBT, for African American youth and students, broadband connection. So all of this is being all, tidied up and getting, allocated. So again, it's a very crucial time for us as we move forward, and appreciate again all of the work from staff. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Fong, if I can ask you to report on the Leg and Public Affairs meeting on the 17th, and also if you can summarize the proceedings of the Chancellor's Advisory Committee on API Student Affairs that you chaired on the 25th.
Thank you so much, President Bettis, and good afternoon, everyone, and hope everyone's doing well and staying safe in these very challenging times. And thank you so much to all the students for providing your comments and testimony. So I think everyone's writing it down. So if I was to look at the cameras, trying to take notes here on all the different items. So thank you so much, students. We had a really robust meeting at the Wednesday, March 17th meeting of the Legislative Public Affairs Committee. I'd like to thank my colleagues, Trustees Vela and Hoffman, for a robust meeting. We first started off with a federal update from Leslie Polner of Holland and Knight, and we talked about the additional funds that are coming down from the federal government regarding the American Rescue Plan. And then also the House also voted and passed the DREAM Act on March 18th, 2021, which was introduced by Congresswoman Lucille Roybal-Allard. We also received updates that the Senate advanced Javier Becerra's nomination for Health and Human Services Secretary, and he's now been confirmed. And lastly, the House has also reinstated earmarks in a very limited basis. And I know there were a number of comments on that as well, additional resources for our students. And funds would be available in the $300,000 to $2 million range on various earmarks. And I want to thank Ms. Velos and her team for putting together the proposals. And there'll be a resolution on that a little bit later in today's agenda. Secondly, on the state policy update, as referenced by Trustee Vela, there were a number of items that were discussed. We'll go over some of the legislation that was discussed. Assembly Bill 927, which was authored by Assembly Member Medina, which would look at the statewide bachelor degree pilot program. Currently, there is a cap of 15 community college districts can offer bachelor degree programs, and West LA College offers a program in dental hygiene, which is in very high demand and can lead to jobs that pay $80,000 to $90,000 a year when students graduate. We're looking to expand the program to eliminate a cap of 15 community college district programs per in the state. So that's something that we put a support on. Secondly, I know there was reference to mental health services earlier. Assembly Bill 940, this bill provides to provide additional appropriations from Prop 63 funds to allocate mental health funds to the University of California, CSU, and the California Community College System. So this is a bill that's something that we are tracking, AB 940, authored by Assembly Member Kevin McCarty. Also, another bill that we're looking on is additional Cal Grant reforms. And this proposal will make more community college students eligible for the Cal Grant programs, AB 1456. So that's something that we're closely tracking as well as the district and as an organization. Also on broadband, I know that was brought up earlier as well, universal broadband service. This bill will require the California Public Utilities Commission to develop, implement, and administer the California Connect program to ensure that high-speed broadband is available to every household at affordable rates. And so these bills were all passed out of our committee we had a motion from Trustee Vela, a second by Trustee Hoffman at that time to support these bills. We also received a state budget update from Mark McDonald of MGI Advocacy. As referenced earlier, there's some budget priorities include the LGBTQ plus pilot project, additional resources for African American outreach, a strong workforce, funding reallocation. So we're trying to fight for additional resources to come down to the LA Community College District. And then also additional funds of 1.5 to 1.7 million for enrollment and retention strategies, and $3.1 million increase to increase participation in CalFresh. So thank you to my colleagues, Trustees Hoffman and Vela, for robust state updates, and to the Chancellor and Ms. Willis and team for all the updates at the state level. And also at the local advocacy level, we had Robert Utiaga from the Santa Maria Group provided an update on the LACCD Jobs Connect. We're trying to increase the partnership with the City Jobs Connect program and provide more internship opportunities and more jobs through the city's personnel department in collaboration with the mayor's office. And this is also in partnership with the LA College Promise Works program as well. So there's a number of initiatives moving forward on that. And then we also heard comments also on the LA Metro Fairless System Initiative. So thank you so much to Trustee Henderson, to the Chancellor, to all my colleagues for all their leadership and efforts on that. There's actually an executive management committee tomorrow at Metro to hear additional comments on this. And thank you to the many students who have testified at the Metro board meetings on this. Your students, your testimony and leadership here carries heavy weight at the board meetings and goes a long way to moving the mayor, the board of trustees, the Metro board, and everyone. So thank you to the Chancellor and to all the students for all your testimony there. It's a process has been 2 years in the making, and we're almost at the finish line. So I hope we can get this done at the May board meeting. But this would institute fairless system initiatives for our community college students in LACCD and throughout the county. And lastly, we're also working with Michael Fuller to change the LACCD mission statement to also included accept food from Republic Services, which will deliver food from LAOSD to LA Valley College. So we're trying to work on additional initiatives on food insecurity at Valley College and throughout our district. And so there's a number of items that we also worked on. And then lastly, as we saw last week, Ethics Studies passed out of the Higher Ed Committee. Thank you so much to Chancellor and to the entire organization. And we'll continue the conversations with all stakeholder groups and really want to hear everyone's comments and concerns as we continue to track Assembly Bill 1040. So those are some quick updates from the Legislative and Public Affairs Committee. And thank you so much again to my colleagues for a robust meeting. At this time now, I'll give a quick update also on our Chancellor's Advisory Committee on Asian and Pacific Islander Affairs. We had a meeting on March 25th. Also want to thank Vice President Buona for joining us at the meeting. And thank you to the Chancellor and to the members of the committee for a robust meeting. It actually was one of our largest meetings that we ever had. It was probably about 60 attendees. And it was attended by all members of the organization, from vice presidents, presidents, deans, staff, students, and faculty. So thank you so much to everyone's robust participation there. We highlighted the resolution that was passed by our board. So thank you again to my colleagues for denouncing anti-Asian and Pacific Islander violence and hate. And also in the wake of the Atlanta shootings and all the recent incidents. Also, we are looking at how we can continue to have the Chancellor provided updates on transitioning to work, teaching or learning remotely, student enrollment and outreach, improving our hiring practices, campus safety. So we also talked about data disaggregation and AB 1040 as well. And so we'll continue to track those initiatives. And the Chancellor also provided updates on banked and our board thanked the custodial maintenance workers who have remained on campus to ensure that our buildings are sanitized and safe for all students, faculty, and staff. And we also want to thank our building trades partners who continue to improve the colleges and constructing state-of-the-art facilities for our campuses. At the state level, Dr. Shimasaki provided updates on our legislation, including broadband bills, CalFresh issues, and our priority legislation, including the ethnic studies bills, AB 101 and AB 1040. So we'll keep everyone posted there. And lastly, we had a very robust discussion, heartfelt discussion, and deep discussion on addressing anti-Asian hate and violence. And thank you to my colleagues, Vice President Buona, the Chancellor, and everyone for sharing their at the meeting. And then also Trustee Buona encouraged all members to provide input as to how we can continue to build these programs to provide support for students, staff, and faculty. And we'll continue to have robust discussions on these very important programs. And we're going to look at data disaggregation as well. And also, we've also encouraged the district to offer additional mental health resources to support students, faculty, and staff who may feel uneasy returning to campus due to the recent hate crimes, and further discuss comeback strategies. And we also discuss strategies on how to break stereotypes surrounding race and gender of the Asian American Pacific Islander communities. And after today's presentation, also from Connie Chang-Jo, thank you to the board for that presentation. We'll look at culturally responsive teaching and how we can avoid microaggressions. And we also heard from student voices. Yushan Boy, who is the president of East LA College, provided his experience regarding recent hate crimes. And he also provided how we can enhance anti-racism education throughout the district, including workshops to bring attention to the current hate crimes. And I also had a conversation with student trustee Geronimo when we were at the Harbor College Foundation food giveaway, along with trustees Henderson and Vela, to talk about how we can continue to address these issues. And lastly, I want to thank Leland Simpliciano. I'm not sure if he's on the call today or not, but he helped really provide updates from the API Affinity Group and also looking at best practices and also opportunities to continue to address anti-Asian hate and awareness. So we are at a robust meeting, and sorry for the long report, and our next meeting is going to be on Thursday, May 13th at 10 a.m., I believe. So thank you so much, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Trustee. Chair Buona, can you provide a report on the Institutional Effectiveness and Student Success Committee from this past March?
Yes, I do have to say, what's called Trustee Fong is going to beat me on the detail today. Trustee Fong, awesome. So it was Trustee in terms of IESS, it was Trustee Henderson and Fong. What we reviewed the student satisfaction of Fresh Desk. curriculum cafe and net tutor. I think what we're asking is essentially, what is the satisfaction levels of students with regard to technological usage? And I believe it was either in the middle of June or the middle of July, we will have the ability to have, and Trustee Henderson, if you remember, please step in. We'll be able to report back to the board the first actual data with regard to real-time updates on student satisfaction. And we asked certain questions with regard to that, to the satisfaction, and I think the staff mentioned something about 89%. I just remembered B plus something, and we thought that was a relatively low number, but we need to really understand what that number is, right? Especially since students might be underreporting any concerns with regard to satisfaction. So it's important for the board to know that we're asking those questions at these meetings. And again, the demonstration of the ongoing survey. Then the board requested a point of service survey of specifically what students are asking for. We're asking for some specifics on what are comments. But we don't want to see all comments. We want to see representations of comments regarding usage of technology. To again, our message to students is we are paying attention to the technology usage, and one way we could do is analyzing the data and the background to make sure that those comments are coming through directly to us, and if we see any blips, that we can actually respond. We got an excellent technologically support update from Vice Chancellor Litz. And we also went through enrollment, which is quite honestly, it is concerning. I mean, it's nothing we haven't discussed as a board, but we went through that detail. But the board also made a point of saying that outreach is needed, so students know about technology support and how they could do that. And I remind the board that technology has been part of our at the main front of our agenda for the last several years. So we will continue to dig in to make sure that students have a seamless technological students. Faculty and staff, we focused on students in this environment, and hopefully anything with regard to students goes over to faculty and staff. And if there are any additional, I'm sure faculty and staff will text me about that. But I did want to go over upcoming attractions. IESS is coming up in next week, and at IESS, we're going to be going specifically over ethnic studies and planning at the district. We're also going to be going, so that should be an exciting presentation. Trustee Henderson, Fong, and I have made sure that we're very specific, and it will be the best of all of our meetings. Not that we're competing with my colleagues here. I'm just saying IESS is going to be super interesting coming up. And we're also going to be going over the new model housing village that the Chancellor has, I think, articulated someone that might be the mayor of that housing village down in Harbor College. I won't say who, but we're going to have a conversation about what's happening at Harbor College and the innovation and social entrepreneurship that's happening, and whether good. I'm not going to say bad, but just good and areas of improvement. And just have some thoughts. And that was it from Chair. Should I go over DACA?
Yes, if you had a meeting last month, sure. But I do see Trustee Hoffman. I believe she might have a question on your report. So Trustee.
Excellent. I have a question. I feel like the professor with the student has a question. Trustee Hoffman, you have a question. I have answers. Okay.
Thank you, Vice President. Well, no, that was a very thorough, excellent report. I do have a question about student surveys. and maybe Dr. Corner might be best to answer this. Is every student in the district given an opportunity to fill out the survey? And do we need to conduct another survey as we really think about how we're going to re-engage on campus?
Before Vice Chancellor Coroner, because I know he's excited about answering that question and he was ready for it. What we're talking about is at the end of every time you have a point of usage with our technology. It's like when you're on Expedia or wherever you're at. After that, students will have the ability to rate their experience. That's
okay. Kind of like how did you, but can we go back to, because I know we did do a survey.
Vice
Can we
Chancellor
go back
Coroner,
to a general survey?
Vice Chancellor Coroner, can you please answer that? I know you're automatically ready. We see you.
It takes a minute to get brought into the field here. We are currently conducting our surveys, and yes, Trustee Hoffman, they do include multiple questions regarding returning to a in-person environment. They look at student preferences for different types of courses. They look at whether or not students are prepared to come back with or without a vaccine. And so Maury and his team have put together quite a robust set of questions to make sure that we have an understanding of what students' interests are.
Excellent. And can we do the same for staff at some point? I think that would be kind of an interesting,
yes, Trustee,
to conduct as well for faculty and staff.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
At your service.
Okay, thank you, Chris. DACA report.
Chancellor, we didn't have a DACA meeting last year. I mean, last month.
No,
right?
we have one this Thursday, sir. We do not have one last month.
So, the
Trustee, I think I gave the one prior for the prior month.
Okay, that's right. We had a different meeting date this month. That's why.
Right.
But we do have a meeting tomorrow. I think some of the students, I always appreciate when students, during comment, we obviously can't comment back, which irritates some of us, but the rules are what they are. I think that's a good place for them to go to the DACA meeting. Chancellor will be there. I will be there. All trustees are welcome to be there. But I do encourage everyone to go to that meeting and ask us specific questions. I mean, the Chancellor and I are there. And we're the last ones to log off to that meeting. Basically, we're the first ones there, last ones out. So I encourage all students to be there. Forever as immigration reform, kind of we only have really a few more months to negotiate immigration reform before we start getting into other campaigns. So we need to understand that our undocumented students are down to around 5,000 or 6,000 students. I think in 2016-17 we're at 10,000. So it's a big head count loss. So this issue not only is morally and ethically important to us, but it's also important to us with regard to institutional sustainability. So thank you for the time, and my colleagues.
Thank you, Trustee. Next, I wanted to ask Trustee Henderson if you would give us a summary of the Chancellor's Advisory Committee on Black African American Student Affairs that you chaired on the 25th.
To my colleagues, meeting attendees. The Chancellor's Advisory Committee on Black and African American Student Affairs met on Thursday, March 25th. We welcome Trustee Andrew Hoffman to the meeting. He spoke to the committee in solidarity of support and moving issues of the committee forward to actionable items. Chancellor Rodriguez provided an overview of the LA City College recognition of Women's History Month afternoon tea, celebrating her story, where I had the honor of being a keynote speaker. Chancellor Rodriguez also provided an update on the return to campus in light of county and health guidelines. Committee members were invited to send ideas and recommendations to the Chancellor on their thoughts regarding a safe return to campus. We were also given an overview of the discussion of a work group that the Chancellor created for Black faculty and staff hiring, where they discussed recruitment, hiring, promotion, and tenure. During this particular meeting, participants shared their personal experiences and concerns with current hiring processes and the inability of adjunct faculty to obtain full-time tenure positions after numerous years of service in this district. Dr. Michael Hopper proposed a motion for the institutionalization of African American student success programs at all of our LACCD colleges. And the motion was tabled in order for recommended changes to be considered. The motion will be brought back to the body for our next meeting for adoption. And Dr. Nairi Berry, the AAOI coordinator, reported that AAOI is currently in planning for the 21-22 academic year, where they hope to expand the number of student ambassadors, increase and broaden community partnerships, increase HBCU transfers, and expand our reentry programs. Dr. Berry also informed and reminded the group that the second annual Black Student Success Week was scheduled for April 26th through the 30th, and updates were provided by the HBCU committee and the Black Graduation Committee. And finally, we were honored to have Congresswoman Karen Bass join our meeting. She is the congressional representative for the 37th Congressional District, where West LA College, I'm getting above myself in my notes, where West LA College and LA Trade Tech are in her district. She discussed some of the concerns and some of the things that she's working on in her work in Washington, D.C., but our students did a Q&A with her. And some of the questions were, how does she decide to run for office? How students can engage or state and federal legislators to get legislation passed. And because West and Trade are in her district, the Q&A, the two students that led the Q&A, I would like to give them a shout out, were Anya Ellis, who is a business major at LACC. He's planning to transfer to UCLA and eventually run for public office, which impressed me. And also Ellis Bivens, who is a psychology student at LA Trade Tech, who plans to transfer to an HBCU, woo woo, or Cal State LA, which also impressed me, as that is my alma mater and where I earn my living. So go Ellis. I want to say to you, Ellis, that Cal State LA would be honored to have you. And I just really want to say to you, my board members and everyone watching, that both of these young men, they eloquently represented their respective campuses. And it was really a joy to participate in that. And in closing, Congresswoman Bass encouraged committee members to continue to contact legislators by phone, email, and however you know how to get in touch with them, by snail mail, to advocate on behalf of the district for free tuition for our students, housing resources, and additional funding that may be available. And the next meeting of the Chancellor's Advisory Committee on Black and African American Student Affairs will be held on May 27th. And President Barris, so ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. And finally, if I can ask the student trustee, Jeronimo, if you can summarize the proceedings of the Student Affairs Committee.
Thank you, President Barris, sorry. So last Friday, the Student Affairs Committee met to discuss and share their reports on each ASO. And since we are almost a month away from ending our term, the student leaders that formed the Student Affairs Committee meeting were recognized for their leadership roles, their commitment, and their achievements during their term. We had the honor of having the Chancellor, Dr. Rodriguez, presenting the certificates to the students. And these students are the ones who made the Student Affairs Committee active through the entire year, despite being in a pandemic. They engaged not only locally, but they also engaged at a regional level. They are students, essential workers, and student leaders who encourage others. So as the Chancellor saw their bios, they are students, they are full-time employees. Some of them work Target, convenience stores, restaurants, and they're also full-time students. And they deserve that recognition. So thank you, Chancellor. And outside of the Student Affairs Committee, I want to echo the students who came and gave their public comment on resources. I, as an undocumented student, as an native student, have also gone through a lot of struggles, and I have experienced how resources not equally in community college, especially when I had to go to the DRC, and because of the lack of having a more counselors, I was left out, after the whole session, waiting for everyone to go first, and then I was left at the end. I did not get my time to talk to a counselor because there was not a lot of counselors there. And also, I've been trying to engage in advocacies as well. And I've had the opportunity to attend the Metro Board of Directors meeting and giving my public comments on bringing the Fairless System initiative to community colleges. And tomorrow I will join the meeting, the executive meeting, and give a public comment. Despite having 2 tests tomorrow, an organic chemistry and a biology test, I will make it because I think it can become a reality. We can, after the pandemic, things don't have to be the same as before. They have to be, students can go to school without worrying about buying a bus pass, without worrying having money for on the bus when they leave their homes, and without worrying about working full time. If sometimes students start working full time because they need to afford certain bus pass in order to move around. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Student Trustee. Really appreciate your report and your advocacy there. Okay, with that, Chancellor, was there anything else that we missed? I think that covers everything, correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, excellent. So we'll move on to the next item, and that is the 2021 California Community College Trustees Board of Directors election. Trustees, in front of you, we have listed all the individuals who had made themselves available and have probably reached out to you, sent emails, etc. The district itself has votes that they can place. We typically have our representatives who attend. For the past few years, Trustee Hoffman has been our lead in this area, and she sits as an officer on this board. So in this process, while all of them are listed, I know there are particular ones that we have had a chance to choose over time, and we don't have to actually support up to the max, but we can't support over the max number of slots available. So with that, I know there was some input given, and certain individuals identified as those that might be closest aligned with the interests and values of LACCD and our needs. And if Trustee Hoffman, I believe we gathered and took a number of recommendations, and you compiled that for our board to consider. So could you read them forward, and then we'll take a motion on that. And if there's any changes or modifications, we can discuss it with the motion on the floor.
Great. Thank you, President Veras. I'd actually like to make a motion to vote for Yvette Davis, who is a trustee at Glendale Community College, Bernardo Perez from Ventura County, Gregory Pensa, he's actually the only incumbent on the list, so we'd like to re-elect him. Barbara Calhoun from Compton Community College. Many of you know Barbara. She's a good friend and a colleague, and works is a trustee at Compton with her president is Keith Curry, doing a lot of good work around food insecurity and housing insecurity. Nan Gomez Heitzberg with Kern County Community College District. Margaret Fishman up at Sonoma Junior College District. And then Deborah Ikeda at State Center Community College District. This represents a pretty diverse group of trustees up and down the state. And those would be my recommendations. I want to also add that the Latino caucus weighed in on this and supported this slate of candidates as well. So I would move to approve these 7.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second on this?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Fong. Any questions or comments before we vote? Seeing none, we'll go through a roll call. So Trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
Trustee Fong,
Yes.
Trustee Henderson,
Yes.
Trustee Vella,
Yes.
Trustee Moreno,
Yes.
Trustee Buelna.
Yes.
I vote yes. Student Trustee Jeronimo, your advisory vote.
Yes.
Okay. Apologize, I did this randomly in the order that it shows up on my screen, but we're trying to move along because I think we do have some quite a bit of consensus here with this. So with that, those are it's unanimous. Those are the candidates that our representatives at the election process will support, correct? So with that, that takes us on to resolutions. And we have 4 resolutions on the schedule. We'll take them one at a time and we'll provide some opportunity for folks if they want to make individual comments on it. The first resolution is on Day of Remembrance for Armenian Genocide. It is a resolution we've done annually in this district for many years now. And certainly we have a strong and powerful contingent of our students and faculty and staff, and especially in the last year or so when we've had a number of issues and violence in Armenia and certainly in Nagorno-Karabakh, that the issues have come to the surface and forefront for our communities more substantially. So with this is a recognition of the Day of Remembrance. Annually takes place in April, and the resolution here as presented is something that we've supported in the past. Colleagues, is there anybody who would like to make a comment on this item?
Do you want to have a motion and a second first, or do you want to have comments?
You know what, we'll take comments first, because I think this is something that, since we've done this annually, we'll make our vote quickly.
Okay.
So we'll provide the comments in the final.
Can I make just a quick comment?
Yes.
First of all,
Yes, Trustee.
I'm happy that we have this resolution, and we do this every year, and I think this year it's particularly important. I also want to say that Senator Henry Stern actually has a Senate Bill 693, called the Never Again Education Act, which would mandate that it's a K-12 bill, that schools cover the Holocaust and the Armenian genocide in their teachings and in their programs, similar to what we did with K-12 and ethnic studies. And so I think this bill is particularly important, and I'm proud to be a sponsor on this resolution. I also want to say, I know that we say that only 3% of our student body is Armenian in LACCD, but I think those numbers are much larger at LA City College and LA Valley College. And being someone who works at Glendale Community College, we actually, if April 24th falls on a workday, that's actually a paid holiday for us. And I would love to see if we can do something in LACCD as well. So with that, thank you so much, colleagues, for supporting this resolution.
Okay, thank you, Trustee. And I'm sorry, I wanted to be clear. I wanted to see if we can take the motion for all the resolutions together, but speak on each individual one here.
Okay, that's what I was trying to.
No objective. That's what I meant to say, actually. I wasn't very clear. But Trustee Vella.
Thank you, President Vettis. And, as we remember the recent attacks, in Armenia, I'm proud to, as a resident of the city of Montebello, an enclave in the American Armenian community, and home of the literally the genocide, birth of the genocide and the signing of it for the state here in Montebello. I just wanted to thank you for bringing this forward and appreciate all of your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, As I mentioned, we're going to try to take the resolutions in one single motion altogether, but we did want to allow them to individually have an opportunity to speak to. So let's move on to resolution number 2, which is the observance of Denim Day 2021 and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So this is again one that we do to raise concerns. I think it might have been John Waddell who earlier mentioned that this combination of resolutions is cautionary, is hopeful, it's recognizing and sort of celebratory. It comes to all the different sort of spaces. But April is one of these months where we, from the environment to sexual harassment to genocide to sort of this opportunity to work together with our congressional delegation under new leadership here, that we had a chance to do something positive. But certainly when it comes to sexual harassment, that this is we have a strong stance at LACCD, and we want to ensure that up and down from students to amongst the staff and faculty, that we're clear that this is sexual harassment is not tolerated at LACCD. So open with that, and Trustee Hoffman, Henderson are co-presenters or co-sponsors of the bill, but anybody else would like to make a few comments on this bill, open it up now.
I'll make a comment. I just support, I want to thank my colleagues for your support on this resolution, and just know that my work is not done around our C14 administrative reg and sexual harassment policies. I'm delighted to have Trustee Henderson here with me. And I think now that we have a new Secretary of Education in the Department of Ed, hopefully we'll see some positive changes coming out around Title IX, because this last 4 years has been a little bit of a nightmare. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. Any other comments on this one? Okay, thank you, colleagues. Next is celebration of Earth Day 2021 and reaffirming the Los Angeles Community College District's clean energy and sustainability goals. This next week, and we'll have our committee day on the 21st, but the 22nd will mark the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. I know at a number of our campuses, we've enacted some substantial efforts to not just necessarily represent Earth Day, but to really sort of be engaged in the fight against climate change, and to ensure that we can impact. We do everything from sustainability to considering what we do with our trees and our tree canopy environment, and certainly it's just about a year now that we passed our sustainability resolution. And I know in the coming meeting, I believe we'll be able to celebrate the fact that it's going to be an award-winning, recognized sustainability resolution. And so that's very exciting. And it was a little teaser for Dr. Smith in terms of what's coming up. But this is continually our reaffirmation of our clean energy and sustainability efforts, and at the same time recognizing the significance of Earth Day. So colleagues, any comments or questions? Okay, Trustee Fong.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and thank you for bringing this resolution forward. And just to amplify the comments about the Green Revolving Fund to reinvest dollars captured by operational savings back into new energy efficiency programs. We know that as we come out of this pandemic, there'll be new opportunities to really look at green energy and workforce training programs as well. So I'm glad that we're reaffirming our commitment on these programs, including stormwater capture, groundwater recharge, and sustainable energy initiatives and energy efficiency projects. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Trustee. And then the last resolution.
President Veras, I just wanted
Trustee
to.
Bella.
Oh no, it's okay. I just wanted to personally thank you and your leadership, not only as president of the board, but as chair of facilities, our committee, because not only did you bring forth a very aggressive sustainability program, but you're also reaffirming it today here. And so I couldn't be more proud to be part of this. I think this is monumental. And I can't wait to see how LACCD, and we are at the forefront in completing this robust program and sustainability program. Thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you, Trustee. Any other comments? Okay, and then the fourth resolution here is a resolution in support of congressional community project funding. As I believe Trustee Vela alluded to and Trustee Fong presented, this is the first year in a little while that we have something which will formally recognize as earmarks. Really glad to have somebody like Maria Velosa on our staff here who very familiar with earmarks. They're calling it something different than they used to, but they're acting like earmarks. So some people have to relearn how earmarks are working at the federal level. But one of the key elements is to have this type of local support done. And so by putting together this resolution for a number of critical projects that we're attempting to fund, it validates and allows our ledge and lobby team to work with our congressional delegation to identify and compile opportunities to have the Congress earmark some potential project funding for us in the upcoming fiscal year here. So, so colleagues, questions or comments on this resolution? Trustee Fong?
Thank you, Mr. President. And just to amplify the comments, this is just a great opportunity. Thank you to Ms. Veloz, Mr. President Bettis, and to the entire LACCD team. We have a lot of amazing projects that have been submitted, and I think we'll be positioning our district strongly to really secure a lot of these funds. So we're going to continue to push to gain additional resources for student success, for job training programs, and opportunities for our students and organizations. So thank you so much, Mr. President, and I urge my colleagues for an aye vote on this initiative. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, colleagues? Okay, seeing none, what we'll do is now take a motion on all four resolutions, motion and a second, and then we'll proceed with the roll call vote. So is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Buona, seconded by Trustee Vela. And Lupe, if you can do a roll call vote for us, please.
Trustee Buona?
Trustee Geronimo?
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Buona?
Yes.
All right, perfect. I'll let her know. Bye.
I'm sorry, I'm having internet issues. It keeps dropping, but let's try again. Trustee Buona?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Trustee Buona?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yes.
Trustee Fong? Trustee
Yes.
Henderson?
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman?
Yes.
Trustee Moreno?
Yes.
Trustee Vela?
Yes.
Trustee Bettis?
Yes. Okay, the item is passed unanimously.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
colleagues. We'll move now to report from the Chancellor. Chancellor?
Yes, thank you
You have
so
the
much.
floor.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Vettis, members of the board, colleagues from around the district, and our public who is weighing in today. As welcome to this meeting this afternoon. Board members and colleagues, if you were listening intently, I know that everyone was, for the last couple of hours, there's an incredible amount of work that is going on in this remote environment. So I would be remiss if I didn't start this brief presentation with extending my thanks to everyone at LACCD, led by the Board of Trustees, for weighing in on the key issues that are impacting our communities, the key issues that continue to provide a strong educational learning environment for our students, and the direct services that our colleagues throughout the districts are providing so that we can maintain academic continuity, business continuity, and ultimately success for students. So it's an incredible testament to your sheer will, to your energy, and to the other ways in which we support our students. What I'd like to do is, in this report, is covered at three brief areas. And first, to look at the status of vaccinations and where we're at with respect to COVID. And I would ask you also to turn your attention to the monthly report for April 2021. It covers in much more detail what I will be covering today. Every month, there is a report that is posted on our website, and please refer to that for more details on any of these particular matters. So I'll talk a little bit about COVID, our status, our re-engagement plans that we have coming up, and then give some brief comments as to what we can expect in the year ahead. So you may have heard that and seen that a week ago Tuesday, Governor Newsom announced that on June the 15th, businesses indeed would reopen and that we would move towards a different tiering, that we would no longer use the color tiered system. And again, because of this, he felt that the conditions were right. Indeed, that the vaccination supply was increasing, that hospitalization rates were going down, and this algorithm that we're using for and through our health departments, things are moving in the right direction. So we made a pretty bold statement, and people are very excited about that. And if the trends will continue, you can see a lot more activity occurring throughout the state of California. And I think you've seen some of that recent activity throughout the state. If you just go in any part of California, you see the reemergence of activities occurring throughout our communities. The vaccination status here in Los Angeles County, there's roughly about almost 60% of adults in the county have now received at least one dosage. And I want to point out that all LACCD personnel are eligible. If you're interested in being vaccinated, at our websites, to the various communications that we have pointed out, and I'll point out the one that came out yesterday from our communications office, William Boyer. If you are interested, there are ways, and the vaccinations are available now for you to be vaccinated. Nationwide, you can see the numbers that are going on there. And I'm particularly proud of the fact that we have 4 of our colleges that have served and continue to serve as both testing and vaccination sites. So kudos to the teams out at East, Harbor Pierce, in Southwest for providing the kind of environments that our community can attend and be in a very comfortable place so that they can receive the kind of assistance that they're looking for. Continuing with our re-engagement plans here, of course, the situation is incredibly fluid. Reports can change from day to day and indeed week to week. But as I mentioned, the algorithm, the numbers are moving in the right direction with the dropping of spreads and infections and the rising number of persons who are indeed vaccinated. We're now currently in the orange tier. And what that means is that with safety protocols in place, we can now occupy or work with our facilities up to a 25% occupancy. And that's after having been in the purple tier for a good part of this last 14 months, moving from the purple and then very quickly through red, now to the orange just a week or so ago. That was very, very encouraging. Again, moving in the right direction. And there's some speculation that if this continues, we'll be in the yellow tier next month, which is not too far from now. Of course, we'll continue to monitor and work closely with our health and safety professionals. We have been guided by the both national, state, and local public health guidance in every decision that we make. I also want to draw your attention to the re-engagement grid that is on our website, the front page under COVID. It tells you, and this is the state's color coding system. It tells you in very, very specific terms what it means to be in particular tiers for both academic operations and student services. So I know I shared this last month, and we continue to discuss this in our meetings that we have with faculty, staff, and students, but please look at that. Please familiarize yourself with that. It's pretty granular. It goes down to the departmental level of what we can expect with respect to occupancy and other conditions for indeed having a higher level of in-person presence, both in instruction, student services, and just repopulating our campuses. You look at the resources, we have been able to navigate this tremendous disruption to our district, the tremendous disruption to our communities because of the federal assistance that we have received. You can see there in plain words and numbers that this district has received so far about $368 million of federal assistance for and related to COVID, so that we can engage in providing the kind of supports that we need to maintain academic continuity, business continuity, and provide a tremendous amount of service. And I'm particularly proud that a significant proportion of those resources, 153 million, has been dedicated for direct student service in the way that you see there: direct cash aid, gift cards, shipments of food to the houses of students, housing assistance for those who, as we heard, are suffering with housing insecurity. Over 40,000 tools, materials, laptops that have been distributed, software purchases, textbooks, and other kinds of learning activities, internet connectivity, and Wi-Fi hotspots. These are just some of the very specific ways that we are assisting our students and our faculty with their support in the learning environment so that we can maintain a high quality academic environment. The balance of funds, as you will see, will be used for institutional operations and other ways that we can maintain keeping our doors completely open. Of course, the dollars that come from the federal government are very specific. They have very specific guidelines, and we're utilizing the funds to the letter of what the guidelines indeed ask for. And that is a prudent approach in the event that which we probably, our education will be monitored, audited, and we have to demonstrate that we are shepherding, utilizing the monies for their indeed intended purposes. Now, we're getting closer to what is described in the health community and other places in the media as herd immunity, but we're not there yet. We need to reach 80% of vaccination rate. And as you see, we're getting closer to that for adults here in LA County. And now any student over 16 years of age can receive a vaccination. Of course, we're mindful of the surges that are occurring in the Midwest through what they call the COVID-19 variants that are raising some red flags. So we're not going to rush to this. We're going to continue to be guided by health and safety protocols, continue to have a prudent approach to, in fact, a return to on-campus in-person services sooner than later. And I'll be more specific in just a moment. There's no timeline that has been set yet to say that this declaration of a public health emergency is over. There's been no timeline set by that. And clearly, in the same way, the federal, state, and county declared that at some point they will declare that this is over, but we're not there yet. There are multiple opinions around the country as to whether vaccinations should be mandatory for returning to work and mandatory for students to return. There is no law that we are aware of that mandates that just yet. There are legal opinions, and there are several colleges and universities around the country that are indeed mandating that for their students. We are not at this point making that vaccination mandatory to return to work or to return to in-person instruction. Of course, we recommend it. It's highly encouraged. It's there's at least science and evidence that is out to the moment suggests that having the vaccination along with masking, distancing, and other safety protocols of health and safety, washing your hands, is indeed a strong deterrent to this vaccine. Strong deterrent to this vaccine. So if and when this declaration is over, we may still institute masking, distancing, and other kinds of health and safety protocols as a safety precaution and out of abundance of caution. These are other statistics that I've shared and data that I have shared before. We have actually never closed. A couple of days that we had to cancel 14 or so months ago, but we have remained in continuity with our academic calendar. We've done so through the tremendous innovation of our faculty, staff, and our students. And we hope that is with the tremendous support to each of the faculty, staff, and students so that we could maintain business operations and a healthy, high impact learning environment that our students deserve and expect. We will continue in this manner, irrespective of the color codes, if you will, remaining primarily online. To give you an example, we have about 1,000 students throughout our 9 campuses that are engaged in on-campus classes right now, and some essential infrastructure and hard to convert classes. That's a very small number compared to the hundreds of thousands that we would normally have throughout our district. So with that in mind, we're now deploying our safety and healthy protocols. And what you can expect when we come back, and we're looking, as you know, the planning assumption is yellow. I wrote on a March 26th memo to the entire district, our planning assumption is yellow, which means 50% capacity for in-person instruction and in-person services. That's half of who we would normally serve. That's pretty significant. There's a lot of scheduling that's involved with that. There's additional guidance that will come, but know this, whether it's 25, 50%, or even more. When we return to campus, the campuses will be clean, they will be safe, and they will be equipped. And we will move through our process to repopulate our campuses, to re-engage with our academic mission in a personal, in-person way, with a high amount of deliberation, intentionality, and with health and safety in mind. What we do know is this, that the colleges around the state of California, just under 40% are experiencing over 20% loss in enrollment. Some colleges between 30 and 40%, and then even fewer, but some over 50% enrollment loss. We're at about 11% down in our head count, and our FTES, the number of classes all calculated together, the FTES is down about 16%. But it's also important to note that we have 3 of our colleges that are in the 20s. So overall, while we might be 16% down, it's important to note that this online environment has impacted our students significantly, and it's had a more significant impact on students who are low income, students of color, students who do not have health care, students who are unemployed, students who don't have the resources to navigate this system. So this notion of returning to our former environments where we provided more direct in-person services and in-person instruction is strongly predicated on building a learning environment where students can be more successful, and strongly predicated on the premise that when we return and do so in a deliberate, safe, methodical, intentional way, that we'll have our students return to our campuses at a higher rate, because we'll be safely providing the educational services and putting harm's way to the extent that we could mitigate that, we will. So for us, the longer we stay online, sadly and unfortunately, the more our enrollment drops occur. So this notion of returning and doing so with the tremendous support of all of our groups, and we're having a very focused discussion with our employee groups, our discussions right now, it's super, super important. And we should know that the enrollment drop that we have now is in contrast to a year ago. We actually grew just by under 1% last spring, even with the latter part in COVID, and by 10% compared to summer. But we saw a 10% drop in enrollments in the fall, and now we see a 16% FTES drop. So that becomes important, knowing that the previous years we had some enrollment drops that we still need to make up. We're held harmless in the state of California through 23-24 from the standpoint of budget. But so it's our opportunity now, this fall, next spring, even more so in the years that will follow, to rebuild our enrollment so that we can maintain our base, maintain our financial base that allows us to provide the kind of support, the kinds of courses, and the kinds of activities that our students deserve, and to have the workforce that's to support the needs of students. So that's why this sort of deliberate but methodical and safe approach to returning as soon as this fall is a very strong position that we will hold and continue to consult our organizations and our groups with. Next slide. So I'll just conclude. I just have a couple more slides left. And looking ahead, we have already resumed some in-person instruction this spring. Athletic training. I know our athletics teams have suffered tremendously throughout this last academic year. Our student athletes have really, had an experience that they did not expect to have. So I want to give them a shout out to their coaches and to all the persons who are involved with our student athletes around the district. But now the good news is that there are, resurrecting some of the previous activities. We're not in competition just yet, but we can resume what we believe is going to be more normal business operations that will be transitioned in more so beginning certainly this fall. Of course, just a related matter that is super important as well. We are conducting now surveys for campus safety and security services that will translate to an RFP for our public safety. And we've seen recently that there have been shootings on public campuses. And we want to also always ensure that COVID, public pandemic or not, that when we return, that we indeed return physically, that our campuses remain safe, that we have all of our active shooter training in place, and that we have, again, an assurance to the extent that we can, that when you come to any one of the 9 LACCD colleges, you will be subject to a high rate quality education and also a safe campus learning environment. So why don't we, I think that this is my last slide. I can't wait till the day Board President Vettis and other members of the board when we actually can welcome everybody back and embrace them in a way that supports their educational goals. So I'll end there. I'm looking forward to this day. And I know many faculty who I've spoken to are as well, staff as well, because we know that we do good work when we have the students in proximity to us. We know we do excellent work when we can provide support services, remove barriers, and provide the excellent service that our district is indeed known for. But we've been remote, and I commend everyone for doing their job remotely. But as we pay attention to the health conditions, we will continue to modify our approach and return to in-person services and instruction at a much higher rate. So with that, Mr. President, I will stop my report, and then I'm happy to respond to any questions, thoughts, or comments you might have.
Great. And I know we have a few hands that are coming up, but we'll get a chance to go through all the trustees. I did want to kick it off by asking one question, and I know this is something you and I have dialogued about privately. I know we are in the category in public health of the college and university. However,
yes,
many of our facilities oftentimes may fit the bill of other categories in public health. I'll use the example of sometimes our field rentals and that kind of stuff that may look more similar to like a Parks and Rec scenario, which are open, which are doing things. But because of the sort of difference in scenarios, I know we're trying to navigate and weave through folks who may use our facilities or may have been under contract. And I'm going to speak specifically to summer camps. I know a handful of our colleges run really robust summer camps. Can you comment a little bit on how we're pulling together the sort of big picture of where college and university space, but at the same time that we also may look like things that are already open and operating under the public health standard?
Yeah, yes, you're correct, Mr. Vettis, that we do operate under what's called the institutions of higher education. There are specific protocols that govern the 80 plus public and private colleges and universities in LA County. So we're all governed by the same rules and safety protocols. However, so we will move towards, and right now we are determined by tiers what it is that we can do. And it's around the areas of instruction, student services, and operations that are well articulated in our re-engagement grid. However, we have other aspects of our organization, and it may seem like a juxtaposition when you may see, in fact, other kinds of public activities, and we have plans to re-engage and re-emerge with those agencies. That may be sort of counterintuitive. Say, where are the students? They're not here as much, but we have all this other public activity going on. In fact, both things can be true. If in fact we can relay the health and safety protocols with our other service agencies and public partners that we've had and contracts that we've had, I think you will see them start to emerge. So both things are occurring, and we are analyzing them concurrently, because you see public parks now opening up with people masking and those sorts of things, and many of our facilities are used as public assets, as they should. So I believe you will see a concurrent emergence of both on-campus presence of instruction and student support services, as well as the emergence of summer, summer activities, and then other kinds of activities where our fields in particular are used.
Okay, thank you, Chancellor. So let me kick it off with Trustee Vela, and then we'll go to Trustee Hoffman, and then we'll go down the line of all the other trustees for questions or comments.
Thank you, President Vettis. Great report, Chancellor. I just wanted to give attention to, the federal dollars that we were able to capture. I want to let everyone know that that was no easy feat, nor was it just a couple of people. It was just a village. And I know LACCD was at the forefront nationally discussing aid to community colleges. So I just really want to thank you, Chancellor, your staff, my colleagues, faculty, students who were, adamant about putting importance to these dollars for our community colleges, and really, quite frankly, the state as well. We took the same model, took the leadership, and advocated. So I do want to thank everyone for that. I did kind of want to ask, in regards to the sentiment of, I completely agree with you and the model to come in and involve all of our stakeholders on reopening in person. Maybe perhaps a student sentiment, if we could capture that. I don't know how much has, at what level has that happened? I would just appreciate some type of report or, something like that. And then furthermore, on the, same thing with the public safety contract, I would really appreciate some thorough outreach over to our student community, because at the end, we're here for them. So thank you.
Yes, Mr. Vela, if I may respond quickly, you're spot on. I'll start with the latter comment. There are student groups, student leaders, and that the firm that has been contracted to engage in the campus safety and security survey that has focus groups specifically for students. We have students also on what we call a sheriff's oversight committee that's providing policy support and direction to this. So there are student voices that we are integrating within that aggregation of data. And with respect to the student voices and their sentiments about returning, there's a current student survey right now that's being administered through Dr. Corner's office, and it's open right now, literally as we speak, and we have over 2,000 voices so far that are being captured, and we'll be presenting a report to the board very shortly here, and IESS and others might get a preview of that first. But we'll be presenting the entire report, not just to the board, but also to our campus constituents, capturing their sentiments about returning, their preferences, and whatnot. So thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you so much.
Can I go next? You're muted, President Veras.
Sorry, Trustee Hoffman. I thought I announced it earlier, but go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Chancellor, for that excellent report. I just sort of want to highlight the fact that what this pandemic taught us is that we are resilient. We have amazing, dedicated faculty, staff, and administrators. We have really committed students. We keep saying we retained 85% of our students, which is really remarkable in this very, very difficult time. I want to make sure that I want to thank everyone so much for stepping up and working hard. I want to make sure that we continue with our shift from a culture of compliance to a culture of caring, and really honor where people are in the process. So as we talk about returning to campus, bringing back students and programs, and we really should look at programs, especially our vocational programs, which have really suffered during the pandemic. We need to hopefully engage every stakeholder, and that's every single employee, about how they feel about coming back, because I think we learned that we can do a lot on Zoom. We can hold meetings, we can serve students, we can do counseling appointments, we can teach classes, we can provide financial aid. So I think engaging all of our stakeholders, you know, there are, because I work on a college campus, I have employees that can't wait to come back. And then I have other employees that said, you know, I could do my job 3-4 days from home. So I really think we need to make sure that we sort of honor our responsibility to all of our stakeholders, because they did such a great job of stepping up to the plate during the pandemic. So I just wanted to make that comment, and I want to thank you for the presentation. It was really thorough. I'm excited to return in some capacity. I think we all need it. And thank you, Chancellor. And I look forward to seeing the plans. And I'm especially interested in what we're doing in terms of air quality and social and physical distancing. So hopefully we'll get a report on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Fong, questions or comments?
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and thank you so much, Mr. Chancellor, for the robust presentation. And this has been the most challenging year in the history of our district, or one of the most. And it's just something that as we come back to reconstitute, that we re-engage all stakeholders and we have their input in this process, as Trustee Hoffman has alluded to. And we know that as we come out of this pandemic, we know that career education, workforce development, career technical education programs are something that at the forefront, ideally meet in person, but how do we make it safe and how do we follow county protocols? But we'll look forward to the plans on that. And then also, I'm really interested in the dual enrollment programs as well. That's been one area that we've seen some growth in, and really what is the conversation been like with LAUSD, with our partner K-12 school districts as we come back out of this pandemic, and we'd like to get a better sense of that. But thank you so much again for putting together this robust plan, and to all my colleagues and to the faculty, staff, students, administration for all your hard work and efforts during this pandemic. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Fong, did you want to, I know you asked a question about exchanges with K through 12. Is that a question you want to refer to now, or do you want to have that later?
Yes. If we can answer it now,
Sure.
that'd be okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Fong. Pardon me. Yes, absolutely. We've had a very close communication with the LA Unified School District for a variety of important reasons. First and foremost, our College Promise program, which has increased the number of college attendees from LAUSD significantly, and our enrollments over the last several years. We're now in our 5th cohort of College Promise students. We will continue to share, as you have seen and led, the welcome packet that essentially guarantees admission for all LAUSD high school graduates and all the high schools that are in our service area, with the higher priority enrollment, with a tuition-free and a whole support series of bridge programs and academic supports. And we've seen that those College Promise students persist, graduate at a higher rate than those who don't participate. So we're wholly committed to that enterprise still, even in a remote environment. We are engaged in dual enrollment right now, Mr. Fong. There are fewer enrollments, but it is all online for the students that are engaged in dual enrollment activities. When, as you know, LAUSD is slowly returning to in-person instruction with the elementary schools that are, I believe, back in school this week or next week. And then, if not already, and then other grades that will follow shortly thereafter. So we will continue to monitor our ability to deliver college courses to high school students. And by the way, those courses are free of charge, no cost. And in many cases, we provide the textbooks as well. So we have not diminished, Mr. Fong, our interest in working with all of our LAUSD schools, high schools, and unified school districts, where we have what's called the CCAP, or the dual enrollment agreements, which are most of the 12 districts that we work in. So we'll continue to be incredibly vigilant on that, and our relationship continues and will remain strong.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chancellor. Thank you, Mr. President.
And I'll offer this, Mr. Fong. I know we have a number of districts underneath us that we cover in our service territory. LAUSD is probably the last to go back, and they've established a system that may be amongst the most complicated because they have a daily pass and a student testing regime. And from the standpoint, I know I had this dialogue with the Chancellor a few weeks back, but just we have all their re-engagement plans, we have all their materials, and to really understand sort of what they have asked for in process. They're certainly like Beverly Hills or Burbank or Culver City Unifieds underneath us. They have a different plan, and most of them already begun their process, and LA Unified is starting it. They had their press conference yesterday, and they're starting it in the week to come. Certainly, I'm very familiar with two LAUSD students, the challenges that we're all facing and dealing with. But certainly those of us that are having to schedule daily passes and testing, those are the kinds of things that some other schools, districts have applied differently. And I think that is one thing that we're currently dialoguing about with our students. Certainly our students in the age brackets would be eligible for vaccines, whereas elementary school and younger students, there is no vaccine for them. And so that is going to be one of those continuing dialogues and conversations to take place over time. But it is they've laid out a very challenging hybrid and testing model that we'll see how it works out in the next few weeks to either take lessons from or use as models. So anyhow, thank you, Trustee Fong. Let me jump over to Trustee Moreno. Questions or comments?
No, I don't have any questions or comments.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Buelna, questions or comments?
No.
Okay, Trustee Henderson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to just say thank you to you as our board president and the chancellor for making sure that I, as a new board member, have a strong understanding of the issues that we're dealing with that come before us as a board, including background information. And this is important because, as we noted, literally most of us noted earlier in the meeting with us from our student speakers, that is try as hard as we might, we don't always meet the mark when we set out to provide services to our students. And I think it's really, really important that not only that our students understand that we are working diligently to address their personal and academic needs, that we do a better job of, as many of them stated, making them aware of what we are trying to do, letting them know that we are literally aware of what's going on with them. And being, transparency is letting them know what we are doing, not taking action in a vacuum and then doing something for them and hoping that they understand it. So, I hope that what comes out of how we've approached this situation with dealing with COVID, not just translating our knowledge base from an in-person format to a virtual, that we consider what our students are getting out of it, what they need to get out of what we provide academically, but also personally. They're asking for a number of things. And, and I hope that as we have our conversations moving forward, we take that into consideration and bring them also to the table to have more opportunities to share with us. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Trustee. And Student Trustee Jeronimo, any questions or comments?
No questions. I guess miss being on campus.
Okay, sounds good. Lots of us do. Anyhow, thank you so much. I think that concludes the Chancellor's report and questions and comments from the board and trustees. Let us now move forward with the business agenda. Colleagues, in front of us, we have the consent calendar, items M1 through Y6. I will note that a number of you have provided some detailed questions and comments to the staff, and And I know those have been distributed to all of us. And those are part of the public record if requested by the public. I will indicate that obviously there's also 2 items that were pulled for further questions. And we'll return to the agenda at some point later after some clarifications. But with that, the consent calendar includes human resources, personnel, the Personnel Commission, actions, academic affairs, student services, budget, finance, business, and facilities. Can I ask for a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar?
President Veras, I'll move to approve, but can we then ask questions after the motion and the second?
Sure.
Okay. So I move to approve.
Motion by Trustee Hoffman.
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Moreno. Trustee Hoffman, if you can indicate which item you have a question on.
I have a question on U5. There's a $40,000 cost for a consultant to help with reorganization. Or is Dr. Awan here? I would just like a little bit of an explanation as to why we need a consultant to help.
So Trustee, in the I will say, and it was sent today, in one of the response, it was a question also asked.
I saw the response, but
it's one of the responses. So if you want to ask to go into greater detail than that response, then totally appropriate.
I'm here if you'd like me to comment.
Thank you. And I do know Linda Beam. I know she's a really terrific human resources executive who's retired and now doing consulting. But just wondering, President Awan, if you could just give us a little bit of information.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so first, good afternoon, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for the question. So this project is actually tied to a part of our IEPI project that we're working on. There's 4 different areas for our IEPI process that we're focused on, and one of them is HR. Currently, I mean, it's no secret that Southwest has had some fiscal issues in the past, and currently 101% of our budget is made up of our HR costs. And so this is really to take a look at our strategic education master plan, which will hopefully be coming to you in June for approval, as well as our goals for the next 5 years. And then how can we align our college and our organizational structure to be able to meet the needs of our students and who we need to be as an institution to accomplish those goals over the next 5 years. You know, we're again making a lot of progress on our fiscal recovery. There's a lot of different areas that we're making a lot of headway on. But some of the outcomes for this are to do some interviews with our stakeholders, really look at our organizational structure currently, align it to our goals for the next at least 3 years. We also have a participatory task force that we've put together that has a representation from every constituency group so that we have engagement from the campus. There is just a lot of work being done around this. And so we're looking forward to just having a plan completed so that as we you know, go through this supplemental retirement package, we have our vacancies, and then we start to hire people back. We do it in a strategic manner that helps us move the college forward.
Great. So you went through the IEPI process and got the $200,000 grant, and is the $40,000 coming from the grant that was given?
Correct. Yeah, we're actually just we're covering it now, but the actual expense is going to be paid from the monies as soon as those are board approved.
Excellent. I've served on those IEPI teams in the past, and so I feel comfortable. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I have no more questions.
No more questions then? Okay, are there any other questions on the consent calendar? If not, we'll proceed with the roll call. Seeing none, let's do the roll call vote, please.
Student Trustee Geronimo's advisory vote?
Yes.
Trustee Buolna?
Yes.
Trustee Fong?
Yes.
Trustee Henderson?
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman?
Yes.
Trustee Moreno?
Yes.
Trustee Vela?
Yes.
Trustee Veras?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item passes, or the consent cast passes. We'll move on to item Z, business items Z1 through Z7. Trustees, before you, can I actually get a motion to approve these items together, and then we'll leave an opportunity for questions if there are any on this. So a motion and second.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Fong, seconded by Trustee Hoffman. Colleagues, questions or comments on the items in front of us? And if there are none, we'll proceed with the vote, but please raise your hand or speak up now. Okay, seeing no questions, we'll proceed with the roll call vote.
Student trustee Geronimo's advisory vote.
Yes.
Trustee Geronimo, student trustee.
Yes.
Trustee Buelna,
Yes.
trustee Fong,
Yes.
trustee Henderson,
Yes.
trustee Hoffman,
Yes.
trustee Moreno,
Yes.
trustee Vela,
Yes.
trustee Veras.
Yes. That section of items passes. We'll move on to AA, facilities items. Colleagues, I will remind you that at least one of these items was an item that we'd heard previously in closed session. And I believe many of the items have been under discussion for quite some time. There are some replacement project urinals I will highlight as an issue that has come up and has been part of a debate in the past, but hopefully with this process, we're going to have some repair and replacement over ELAC here. But with that, overall summary, is there a motion and a second to approve facilities items?
I will move to approve the AA facilities items. I do have a question on one, but
Sounds good. Thank you, Trustee Hoffman. A second.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Henderson. Trustee Hoffman, which item do you have your question?
I probably should have Googled this. AA5, the Old Trappers Lodge Boot Hill Cemetery. What is that?
I'm happy to respond. I know that President Montervigen is on as well as Dr. Smith. It's essentially folk art that the college has had present for many, many years, located in a not very visible place of the campus. And it was determined through a campus process that folk art needed to be removed because of its depiction of particular cultures and communities. And it was determined that we would return that folk art to its or donate it, if you will, to somewhere that would like to have that art, and then to notify the donors as well. So President Montervigen or Dr. Smith, please feel free to chime in where I have left off. But this has been a discussion for some time now, Ms. Hoffman, and it was by the decree of the campus. We're hoping to support that.
So we're selling it? Like, why is it costing us $27,000?
That's my understanding is that's what it costs to remove and to let me double check that, but that's what it would cost.
Chancellor, if I may. Oh,
go ahead.
This is President Montevirgen. This item is actually for the assessment and appraisal that we felt that in order for us to go ahead and engage in the process, we needed to actually conduct a fair market appraisal first of the actual collection.
Yes, thank you. I think I was one step ahead. Pardon me.
Yeah, you're step. I did also want to indicate when you do an appraisal, you're able to insure, assess, to do a number of things, but as well, Trustee, this is at Pierce College. It is at near the equestrian side of the college. It is not necessarily politically correct in most of our ways of seeing things, but it is sort of hearkening back to the old, sort of campgrounds up in Woodland Hills and in those areas when there used to be hunting, when people would do a weekend hunting trip up in the hills and Woodland Hills and Malibu out there. So. But it is something that's been at the campus for a little while, and I think the campus community has commented frequently about it when they see it and they know it's there, and that's why it's up. But to even really understand what we have, to know if it's valued in some kinds of ways and what it looks like, is I think those are steps that had never been taken. They were just donated and placed, and it's a lot of sort of folklore of what it's worth and what kind of value it actually has. So we actually don't know.
Would it be better just to donate it?
And I would just like to say, there is a donation agreement. We have looked at this very closely legally. We're following all of the procedures. It is a state historic landmark as well. So we're being very careful in terms of how this is being done, how is it assessed. President Montevirgen and Vice Chancellor Smith have been integral in terms of doing this. So we are doing our due diligence to make sure that this is being done correctly, not only per the donation, but also because of its status. There will be subsequent items if in fact there is a donation to another location. This does not include that. Just want to make clear again, President Bettis was correct. This is just the assessment. This is part of the process as we sort of move through in making the determination. But I just want you to know we are very respectful based on its status, and we are following the letter of law in terms of how we are handling this particular collection.
Okay, and we could still donate it, like to the Gene Autry Museum comes to mind.
And again, we will be back with that particular matter because that also again follows a particular process in terms of how that occurs based on the original donation agreement.
All right, thank you.
And it does require a board vote to donate it. So it will be on a public item.
Okay.
At least next time we'll know exactly what it is. So how it works. So
thank you.
And yeah, thank you for the question, Trustee. I know it sounded like looks like an awkward item on the agenda, but yeah.
At least I read my agenda, right?
Right. Colleagues, any other questions on the facility items? Seeing none, let's proceed with the roll call vote.
Trustee Geronimo's advisory vote?
Yes.
Trustee Buelna?
Yes.
Trustee Fong?
Yes.
Trustee Henderson?
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman?
Yes.
Trustee Moreno?
Yes.
Trustee Vela?
Yes.
Trustee Bettis?
Yes, and those items pass. Next, we'll move forward to matters requiring a supermajority vote. General Counsel, remind me, we are talking 5 on this one, correct?
Yes, I've always followed Trustee Bettis. Thank you for always asking. Based on our board rule, our definition is yes, it is 5 on this particular matter. We do require 5 votes from the trustees.
Thank you, General Counsel. So we have an emergency resolution for the Learning Resource Center project at LA Mission College. Chancellor, Dr. Smith, can you give a quick update here on what happened, just so the board can know and feel confident in this vote?
Let me ask Dr. Smith to weigh in. This was something that obviously caused us to have an immediate repair. And when we do so without having pre-authorization, we come back and ask the board to take care of that through this supermajority. So Dr. Smith, are you on the line?
Yes.
And I will note that it's over $500,000 expense, and that's why I wanted to take the time to know that this is an issue.
Yes, unfortunately, on one of the water closets in the restroom of the Learning Resource Center, we had a flush valve diaphragm fail, and unfortunately, that leak continued through the night and created basically a 2-inch deep puddle in the building. So, we did have to remediate and restore on that one. So we got the cleanup started, based on the flood that was initiated. So the part of this. This item is also a ratification for TRC Investment, who actually started the repair because of the emergency, and they started that work.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Smith. Can I get a motion and a second, colleagues?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Fa, seconded by Trustee Vela, and I don't believe it's pretty straightforward in the presentation here, but if there's any questions or comments, raise your hand now. If not, we'll move forward with the roll call. Seeing none.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Student Trustee Geronimo's advisory vote?
Yes.
Trustee Buelna?
Yes.
Trustee Fong?
Yes.
Trustee Henderson?
Yes.
Trustee Hoffman?
Yes.
Trustee Moreno?
Yes.
Trustee Vela?
Yes.
Trustee Bettis?
Yes. The item passes. We'll move on to item CC, notices, reports, and informatives. There are 2 notices. No actions required now. These will be coming back to us. Trustees, if you remember, we had previously discussed updating board policies and rules to be consistent with statewide standards, and so it's a long-term project that this board has been engaged with. Trustee Boyle and I do sit and go over the ones that we feel are much easier and don't require all that much changing in terms of it's more or less correlation. So the first few are coming up, and I believe they've come up over the past few meetings, and will be continuing to come up as we make this transition and have all of these board rules up on our board docs, easily accessible, easily looked up, all connected with our policies. And it's I guess we can view it as a modernization project as much as anything too. So those are the notices and informatives. And I said no action needed here, and these will come to an agenda item later. Announcements and indications about future proposed actions by members of the board. Colleagues, I have two items that I wanted to introduce today. First of all, can announce two board ad hoc committees being formed. The first is and some of this is the challenge, and sometimes our committees don't have enough time to get deep into issues. But last year, this board passed a resolution dealing with exploring an ethnic studies graduation on our campus to be consistent with the state standard, and also to work closely with our academic senate. So this first ad hoc committee is going to be established, comprised of Trustee Buelna and Trustee Fong, to come back and revisit the implementation of that ethnic studies resolution and the progress that we've seen, along with the bill work and all those kinds of activities. And we'll just give the board board members of the board a little time to dig deeper in terms of the implementation of that effort on the table. The second ad hoc committee, and I'm going to be appointing myself and Trustee Henderson, and is to take a look at particularly a staff and faculty diversification, diversity hiring efforts, and to come back and bring some recommendations to the board. I know we've also passed our racial equity and social justice resolution. We've talked about diversity and hiring in lots of different ways. With Prop 16 not passing, we didn't have essentially some of the change in actions that some of us were thinking about that might occur. Voters decided to go a different route, but there is still quite a bit to consider and look at. And so those will be functioning as short-term ad hocs with reports to come back to us and connect with broader issues. So those two will get going quickly, and I know all of you are excited and interested to serve on ad hocs and committees and everything else. So, but the purpose of ad hocs obviously is short-term basis, and to get some work to get it to the rest of us to consider. So thank you to those trustees who agreed to work on those two efforts, and then we'll be back with other issues soon enough. So any other announcements, proposed actions by members of the board?
Trustee Velez.
Yes, Trustee Vela.
Hi, just wanted to announce that the LGBTQ Affairs Committee is on April 20th at 2 p.m.
Okay.
Ryan, am I right on that? I think I am, but we'll see.
Well, and if we can, Luca, if we can make sure that, or the Chancellor, when you do your communication reports, that we have the update here, that would be great on that.
Yes, sir. We'll put it in the minutes.
Yes, April 20th, Mr. Vela, 2 to 4 p.m.
Got it. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Trustee. Any other announcements here? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to now move forward and open up public comments, request to address the board regarding matters not on the agenda. I did read the disclosure earlier, the encouragement to stay focused on conduct of public's business. But we had 3 individuals, I believe, that were signed up. They'll have 2 minutes for the speakers to speak. And Lupe, can we start with those that had listed themselves earlier as interested in speaking to the board? Can you announce them?
I'm sorry, I get my internet kicked me out. I'm going to read into the record a statement that was provided from East LA College Black Theater 1. So let me see what happened to me. It threw my screen off. I'll be a second. Okay, here we go. So this is on item U3, service agreement at East Los Angeles College for $8,000. The comment is, I believe U3 agreement should be terminated and the funds should be used for departmental scholarships in theater arts, which would help ensure that students majoring in theater don't drop out and promote the theater department. You're wasting vital resources that could instead help encourage students to major in theater arts. I can tell you personally that $8,000 would be better spent on 8 scholarships of $1,000 each or 16 scholarships of $500 each. Next one is apologize. Here we go. Comment, U7 amendment is a waste of public funds that could be better spent on scholarships for theater majors via the LACCD Foundation or to the theater department itself. V6, ESD agreement could be better spent on scholarships for theater arts majors at all campuses. Please stop wasting our money on these public speakers. You are allowing these individuals to rob the district blind. Comment EE, this is for non-agenda items. When Professor Kelly Hogan, East LA College Campus Theater Arts retires at the end of the semester, I support the effort in promoting Professor R.L. Scott to full-time tenured status. We are tired of the divisiveness, body slamming, sexism, and unprofessional behavior promoted by Kelly Hogan over the past 10 and plus years. We demand new leadership that is more reflective of the diverse culture of East LA College. We demand Professor Rodney Scott is promoted to full-time tenure status. To do any less would be to disrespect the fine works from R.L. Scott has done to establish a trust and love of the East LA College Theater Arts student body. I am a
Okay. Lupe, you've cut out on my screen.
sorry, continuing. You don't value Black lives unless you promote Black faculty. Please promote R.L. Scott to full-time tenure status, replacing Kelly Hogan immediately with no national search. Stop allowing these toxic, diversive faculties like Kelly Hogan to decide who is good enough for Shakespeare. East LA isn't Hollywood. East LA is a student with visible disability such as autism, was significantly less likely to be cast in a play if it was Kelly Hogan.
Okay. Thank you. Lupe, if we can provide the comment to the individual trustees or to all the trustees, I know we tend to encourage comments to not be directed towards individuals and stay on the issues. This one isn't going there, but it's in the record and we'll provide it to all the trustees for that purpose. So let me move forward with those students that are here and or those individuals, I should say, that are interested in making comments. If you can please raise your hand. I know a few have been moved into the panelist section. So if you can please raise your hand and I'll call on you. You have 2 minutes to speak. And let me go to Koryama Martinez first.
Hello, it's Karaima Martinez. Thank you so much for letting me speak today, trustees. I'm here to address the inequity issue that students are facing due to lack of proper access to mental health issues and funding for parents. So LACCD must do better at promoting its mental health resources and creating accessibility by better communicating and promoting its readily available resources to its students. For example, Stand at ELAC, which is in partnership with UCLA, is an amazing program that students could greatly benefit from, but one, it's not being promoted properly, so students haven't been able to properly utilize and take advantage of this amazing resource. And two, it's a program that's only provided at ELAC right now, which our other LACCD students could greatly benefit from these kinds of resources, as well as maybe the rest of LACCD could take a note from Trade Tech. I'm not sure which other campuses do this. I know for a fact ELAC doesn't, but the Trade Tech president actually calls us and leaves us voicemails, maybe 2-3 times a month, updating us on things that are going on within the campus and things that they're offering and resources and where to go for help. So maybe the rest of LACCD could implement that for other students who need certain resources, but maybe don't always check their email. All of this, as well as student parents have also expressed that if the CARES Act was more inclusive, it would be more beneficial for their household by allowing the CARES Act program to be available to all parents, no matter if they're single or married. All of this assists a student in being able to remain enrolled and complete their academic journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Yasmin Mata.
Hi, my name is Yasmin Mata, and I'm a student from East Los Angeles Community College. First of all, I would love to just thank all the Board of Trustees here for everything that you guys have done. Your work is clearly presented by everything that was presented today. And I would like to echo a few of the points that were stated in the first part of the time where we could speak for public comments, especially the ones that started talking about undocumented students. So I am an undocumented student. And so I'm here on behalf of all the undocumented students that are from LACCD. I'm so excited because I'm gonna get the chance to transfer out this semester already. I'm gonna really miss ELAC, and I'm really grateful for the community college system for giving me kind of a second chance at a higher education. And so while in my college research, I noticed that some of the resources that CSUs, UCs, and other private institutions offered their undocumented students were, they would cover DACA renewal fees. And so this DACA renewal fee is $495, and students have to pay this every 2 years, just for protect themselves from deportation, as well as just to have a work permit. And so I would love to see, this type of financial support being implemented on the community college level. I think it's especially even more necessary at the community college level, because that's where we know most of these lower income students who need that fee even more are present. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Yasmin. Chancellor, can you and your staff follow up with Yasmin? Because I know we have partnerships with organizations that actually do just that, and I know we've done it through partnerships to support that. So I think there may be a way to follow up and figure out how to address the concern.
There is. In fact, we're working on this solution now and hope to have good news shortly.
Okay, thank you, Chancellor. Next, I see Eleanor Yip.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Eleanor Yip, and I'm a student at East Los Angeles College. I would like to discuss the lack of internships and opportunities for general students. Citizen and non-citizen students across various campuses are struggling to find opportunities to help prepare them for the general workforce, or to just even get involved in jobs related to their major or trade. There's a lack of internships for general students, not a part of programs like Los Angeles College Promise or STEM. Wherever departments are in charge for this outreach need to promote more to the student populations, because students have to find opportunities by themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. And I don't see any more hands up, but I do see Brian Islas. I think, Brian, you wanted to make a comment?
Yes. Hello, Board of Trustees. I'm a poli-sci major that attends ELAC. This is my second year, and I am here on behalf of AFT internship. And I wanted to shed some light on the issues that I've heard of from plenty of students, and some that I've experienced myself personally, about counseling and other related services at the ELAC campus. More often than not, it's very hard to find an appointment with the counselor because there's so few of them, and all of those appointments are like all taken up immediately. And I feel like the ratios between the big student body at ELAC and the number of counselors isn't sufficient. So I would wish for you guys to try to draft something to curtail this shortage. And this also bleeds to other services, such as the financial aid office that is very vital and we need during these trying times. And as well as more quality time for people who are just walking in for counselors during their walk-in hours, because I think that's also really important, because I've personally experienced when I go as a walk-in that it's not very effective in what I need answering. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me and my grievances.
Thank you, Brian. And that's all I see. If there's any other comments that you wish to be made on non-agenda items or any general comments, please raise your hand. If not, then we will close the comments portion of the meeting. Okay, seeing none, so that item is closed. We'll move on to item FF, report of actions taken in closed session. I will note that there are no items required by the Brown Act to be reported out from the closed session before the meeting. So the next item is consent calendar regarding closed session. There are none that are listed there. And that brings us to adjournment, colleagues. So if there's no objections, we will stand adjourned. And we will see everybody at our next scheduled meeting day, which is the 21st, next Wednesday, with committee days and our study session committee of the whole. So colleagues, thank you so much, and good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.